A very good afternoon to all of you, and welcome to the pre-show of our live safari, where you get to watch 5 minutes of inane babbling before we start our live safari properly. And hopefully Fergus will have a better morning or better afternoon than he did this morning, where he spilt his coffee once, nearly twice, hit himself with the camera, and then I drove him into a tree just to finish things off. So Fergus, let's have a better afternoon, shall we? I think that's what we shall do.
Technically, Jamie, you hit me with the camera. You were driving the car.
Okay. Alright, I'll take that one too. I hit you with the camera when we went over a bump. I'll take the blame for that. Fair, that's fair. Rusty will be out shortly. She's just having a few modifications added to her. And this afternoon we will be directed by Megan, freshly back from leave.
Hello, Megs.
Hello, Megs. It's nice to hear your voice again. Megan May, not to be confused with Maggie May. It's an entirely different kettle of fish, according to the Beatles. There is a buffalo there. Ha! Hello, buffalo. There you go, you get a sneak peek as to what we're going to be looking at live shortly. Well, we're still live. We're just not properly on safari yet. I wonder where you've been hiding, Mr. Buffalo with a stumpy tail. Where's the tip to your tail, I wonder?
In the belly of a lion.
In the belly of a lion. I think under the hoof of another buffalo. I wonder how often their tails get trodden upon. That is definitely a much shortened buffalo tail. Shame. Not working very well as a fly swatter, is it? The reason I say I wonder where you've been hiding is because I think he's the gentleman that wandered past our camp last night. A good reminder to all to carry torches at night. I definitely don't want to encounter one of these gentlemen in the dark. Or in a dark alleyway, but that's less likely. Just in the dark will do.
That's a street buffalo.
He is a street buffalo. He's got the scars to prove it. Oh, is he blind in that eye? Or is it just bloodshot and scary looking? This is not a young buffalo. There's an old buffalo bull. Turn your head back this way. Looks like he might be. Oh, no, he's not. It's a little bit milky. But he's not blind in that eye.
He doesn't look like the nice sort of guy you'd like to sit and have a chat with in the pub.
Not at all, Fergus. He definitely does not look like a congenial company. He actually looks like he might have had an escape from lions, I hate to say. It's hard to tell, but he's got scratches around the back of his neck and he's got a nasty wound on his shoulder. And that could easily just be scratches, natural scratches and scrapes that have been kept open by the ox pickers. But I wonder if the Nkuhumas didn't have a go at him last night. There's no scratches on his back, though, and that's usually quite characteristic of a freshly escaped buffalo. No. Perhaps not. Perhaps just an injury. And that is why oxpeckers are not always helpful. When they sit and worry at an injury like that. Ouch. That is horrible. Worst I've ever seen was the oxpecker that climbed into the broken buffalo horn. Oh, that was horrible. Oof. I still get shivers thinking about that because I'm pretty sure that those buffalo weavers hollowed out that stump in the first place. The oxpecker looks so happy with itself as well. Yay! And the rest of them look unimpressed at their lot. Alright, we'll see you shortly. For now we're going to say farewell, and the live safari will be starting properly in a few seconds.
This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised. Good morning or afternoon, wherever you happen to be in the world. We are on a bushwalk here in the middle of the northeast corner of South Africa, and you are watching safariLIVE.
Ready.
Standing by.
Five, four, three, two, one. You are live. You are live.
Right, well, my name is James Hendry, and I'm going to be on the walk end of this sort of very slightly subdued Saturday sunset safari. I say slightly subdued because it's nice and warm, and it's just got a very relaxed weekendish feeling about things today. Hashtag safariLIVE is how you get hold of us. That's on Twitter. Craig is on camera today. He's unable to show you his thumb because he's holding the camera with both hands. He did, however, give you a very friendly nod. Good. On the other vehicle, we have got Tristan. Well, on one vehicle we have Tristan. The other vehicle will have Jamie on it. And in the final control, back on the Vox, is Megan. Very nice to have her back here, all the way from Cape Town, where I hope she didn't leave her brain. Good. Well, there is Tristan going out right now, and he has got a brand new camera with him. I don't think we're allowed to talk about that yet, so pretend I didn't say anything about the new camera. Ha 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 ha. Okay, good. Then we have found a flower. One of the last flowers of the season. This is called a butylon, or the elephant's ear. And I was hoping that there might be some form of insect or arachnid on it, but afraid they have given up on me today, despite the warmth, 27 degrees Celsius, 75 degrees Fahrenheit. And on that note, we're going to send you across all the way to where it is quite warm and steamy by the water with Jamie Butterson.
It is quite warm and steamy, actually, sitting in the sun. It's definitely much, much warmer than when the cool breeze was blowing earlier. And a very good official good afternoon to all of you, and welcome to the Sunset Safari, where we're starting off with a creature that has become somewhat unusual on these safaris. And perhaps this heralds the return of the buffalo to the Traverse area that we get to drive around in, and perhaps with them, the return of our lion prides. It would also be very, very pleasant in the not-too-distant future. But first, before we talk too much about him, I had better say hello and introduce myself to all of you, because otherwise it's just going to be a disembodied voice. And I can assure you, if the Buffalo Bull could talk, he would not sound anything like me. My name is Jamie, and this afternoon Fergus is on camera with me. And we are going to be travelling to the eastern side of our Traverse area, right up to Cheetah Plains. But we've stopped for the moment, because it's always a good idea on a warm afternoon to come and check the local waterholes to see what has meandered across to them. And a nice buffalo bull is enjoying the fresh crop of grass from the sort of the spillover from the dam. Nice and fresh and green still. And of course, for these guys, as bulk grazers, the coming seasons are going to be relatively hard on them. As we go into our dry season, there's not that much grass around, and the grass is already getting brown and dried out, and they've still got a long few months till we get to October or November, and the grass will be green again, hopefully, provided that it rains. He's been rubbing his horns on a tree. And the reason that I know that is because he's got all of those brownish patches at the base of his horns, and that's where he's been rubbing his head on the bark, and the bark is stripped away. And they do that partly to be intimidating, a lot of the time, if there's another male around, but also just to get to those hard-to-reach itchy points behind the horns and in the middle of the horns. And that is a serious block of very heavy bone that sits on the base of his head. Buffalo bulls are basically built like battering rams. And when it comes time to fight for the females, then they clash. You can imagine the impact that something like that would have. Because we've lifted up buffalo skulls in the tent before, and I would guess that they easily weigh just the bones and the skull with the horns. I would say easily 12 kilograms, probably more. So over 25 pounds. Now I'll put that on the receiving end of the odd 900 kilograms of animal, traveling at a speed of 15 meters per second at its fastest. And you'll understand just what kind of an impact those horns can have. Shame. And he's got a couple of cuts and scrapes. We were talking about this during the pre-show of the live safari. Hey, old boy. I would say, judging by his tattered ears and his skin, he's not a particularly young buffalo. 10 maybe? Just guessing. Around about there. He's also spent some of the day, at least, wallowing in the mud. There's the injury. Not a pleasant thing. Oxpeckers are usually so helpful for our animals, in that they help to remove all of the ticks that have attached themselves to the skin. But even when there's the tiniest injury like that, they will sit on the back and worry at the edges of the wound, because they feed off blood. Most of their diet is ticks, but they feed off blood and mucus as well. Now, Costa V, looking at our patchy buffalo, you want to know why is some of the buffalo's fur missing? And the answer to that is that's very common with buffalo. They often either rub patches away of fur where they've rubbed up against trees, or they have some kind of fungal skin condition. That's also very, very common within buffalo. Or any other kind of parasite-driven skin condition as well. So they do get mange. I don't think this buffalo has mange. I think that's more likely a fungal patch. But it is very common. And I guess wallowing in the mud constantly, probably, because that mud is not exactly clean, probably doesn't help all that much, although it will stop the oxpeckers from irritating it. Hello, big boy. Otherwise, he's in tip-top shape. I had almost forgotten just how big buffalo truly are by the end of last year's drought. They really are massive creatures. Last year they were in such bad condition, they were just walking skeletons. This morning Tristan stopped at a buffalo skeleton that was probably as a result of, or death as a result of the drought. They've got a much better chance this year. All right, well, it seems as though our buffalo bull is having a relatively lazy afternoon. Let's go and find out what James's warthogs are up to.
I have got warthogs here on quarantine. Indeed, they are running now because they heard that we were coming across to us. And so now they are running away as fast as they can. No, they're not quite as fast as they can, but they definitely know they've been spotted. They were sitting in the shade. There's the boar, Craig. There's the big fella. He's saying, where are you going? They've been past us 150 times. They're not going to do any damage. Come back here and let's relax. It's a nice Saturday afternoon. And she's going, you don't know that. You don't know what's going to happen. They're unpredictable, that species. I tell you they are. Come on, children. Let's go. He says, oh, come on, Hilda, darling, let's just stay here in the shade. We've seen them hundreds of times. And as normal, and as should happen, Mother has won, and she has removed the babies to what she feels is a more safe location. Now, it's not entirely usual for them to be in a sort of nuclear family. Often you'll find a sow and 3 babies, or 2 babies, and then another sow and her offspring. And there's not always a boar in tow. So it's not like they're a monogamous species. He will philander away, probably. Marvellous. Can you still see them there, Craig?
Just one of them.
Just one of them. I think that's the bull. A bit lazy. Doesn't want to follow his wife. He's going to be in all kinds of trouble. Alrighty. I can see the sow. She's looking at us. She's very discontented indeed. So let's head across to Tristan so that he might greet you in the name of this glorious Saturday afternoon.
Well, good afternoon everybody and welcome to our sunset safari. As James said, my name is Tristan and on camera today I've got Jandre, and a very, very warm welcome to all of you, the viewers. So remember, you are the most important part of this, and therefore hashtag safariLIVE on Twitter if you have any questions. Right, we are going to go check the northern edges of Djuma. We're going to go try and see if maybe, just maybe, the Nkahuma Pride has come back towards Djuma, because there was a report this morning that there were tracks coming back towards Sydney's dam, and James thinks that potentially the cubs might still be on Djuma itself. So we're going to go check up that side. If there are no signs there, then we'll slowly head to a couple of the waterholes as it gets a little bit later in the afternoon, and maybe we get lucky with a leopard down at Twin Dams or Treehouse Dam than that area. So that's the kind of plan for the afternoon. I think we're going to head up Sandy Patch Way and just see if there isn't anything there. Now sometimes with the Nkahumas, what they like to do is they like to go into Buffelshoek and then they come back towards Sydney's dam area. They seem to really enjoy that, and then they come into Reptile from that area. So I want to just go and make sure that they're not lying somewhere there. I don't think anyone actually checked very carefully around that particular section late in the morning, and we know from yesterday when we were following the Nkuhumas all morning how they walked non-stop the whole morning, so they could have easily have walked quite far. Now, Jandre, there is a thrush on top of that branch, so there we go. Now you can see it's got its beak open at the moment, and that is a ground scraper thrush. Now these ground scraper thrush, as the name suggests, tend to spend more time on the ground than actually in the air, and so they run around looking for varying food items on the ground itself. And you find when they get disturbed, then they then fly up onto a tree like this and sit tight. The reason why its beak was open is because it's been out in the sunshine, and so that means that it's warmed up quite a bit, and so they then practice gular flutter, which is a way of opening the beak and breathing quite rapidly in order to reduce the temperature within the body. It's much like a dog panting, and so that's why, or the cat's panting, it's the same thing. Now generally the ground scraper thrushes are quite sort of skittish, so to be able to see one out in the open like that is really very, very cool. Nice. Well, that's a good start to our afternoon safari. Hopefully we'll carry on with a good vein of form and we'll get lots of cats to celebrate our cat today. While we do that, let's go across to Jamie, who's got a buffalo that's quenching its thirst.
He was quenching his thirst. He's now quenched, past tense, his thirst. And I'm hoping that he's going to go and find a nice spot to wallow in. And it's something that's very characteristic of these big old buffalo bulls. They like to spend long days reclining in either water or mud, whatever suits them. Now, it's not chilly this afternoon. I've completely forgotten what the temperature's meant to be, but it's warm enough that he might want to go and lie in the water. He seems to be thinking about it. Okay, 25 and 77. It's hotter in the sun. It's probably closer to 30 when we're sitting here in the sun. And when you're big and dark colored like a buffalo, that certainly will mean lots of heat and a need to go and cool down. Come on, boy. We'll get rid of those ox pickers on your shoulder as well. Oh, okay. Or not. The number of times we have walked down to this waterhole and not seen a buffalo bull anywhere. They do tend to surprise us. They just come out of nowhere. Violet, yes indeed. Buffalo are the ones that you don't want to encounter on foot. For the most part, they're absolutely fine. And almost all of my buffalo encounters have resulted with the buffalo looking at me with their heads up. And then I walked away, and then everything was absolutely fine. And actually, when we talk about them, the buffaloes being the ones we want to avoid, we mean really buffalo bulls like this on their own, because they feel more vulnerable when they're on their own. They feel more threatened and therefore are less patient, less tolerant, and basically very, very grumpy. And the thing about a buffalo is if it does come at you, there's no real chance that it is a warning charge. Chances are it's a serious charge. Whereas with lions, a lot of the time with elephants, we're going to do the whole safari backwards now. A lot of the time they will stop. And they're really just trying to scare you off. Whereas if a buffalo decides to come running at you, it means business. And they're very, very fast, despite their size. So yes, buffalo bulls are the ones we tend to try and avoid. If we do encounter them, we very seldom, unless we're in a really nice, good, safe position, we very seldom stick around to show you them on bushwalk. Has he just gone? No, you can't. That's a good example. Imagine you're walking, just popped out on this path here. Look here. I mean, we're taller than we would be on foot. In that brief moment where he was almost invisible to us. Now he's out again. But they're probably one of the more dangerous animals to encounter. And the Duggar boys are the ones to watch out for. The old mud boys who live on their own or in small herds, in small bachelor groups. They're also very short-sighted. And they tend to run first and ask questions later, often in your direction. The nice thing about buffalo bulls, though, is that they can't climb trees. So provided you can find yourself a nice big tree or a nice big termite mound, you're probably absolutely fine. The other problem with them is that they tend to zone out almost completely, so you often surprise them. There he goes, off into the distance, and I have marvelous news for all of you. We will not just be broadcasting this afternoon from South Africa, we have also got Brent in the Mara. Oh dear, it seems as though Brent had disappeared. I spoke too soon. That is most unfortunate. Well, I'm sure they'll keep trying. He had some elephants to show you, just in case you wondered what you were going to see. And our buffalo's gone. No, he's not. I'll get him back for you. Hopefully Brent and Darby managed to find some signal somewhere. All right, dare we try this again a second time? Picture seems to be back with Brent. Let's try heading all the way back across to the Mara.
Hi guys, welcome, sorry about that. We're back and in Kenya, in the Masai Mara. There's a big grey bottom looking at us. My name is Brent Leo Smith, and I have the dimpled, dangerous Dave Eastall on camera with me. How are you, Dave?
Oh, very well.
We've been trying to get down to this area for quite some time. It's called the Samaki Swamp. But even though we can get quite close on the opposite bank, it takes quite a long time to get down here. So we left extra early after lunch and came down to the Samaki Swamp. And there we go, we've got some Defasa waterbuck with a buffalo bull in the background. You can very much see the white bottom as opposed to the ringed white bottom there. Remember, this is 100% live from magical Kenya. Hashtag safariLIVE on Twitter if you want to ask us questions, whether it be about the waterbuck's bottom or the elephant's bottom, because it seems that's what we're showing you to start the safari. Bottoms and bums everywhere. Now, as we go across the swamp, there we go, there's a nice big bull next to us. Now, I've seen up to sort of 150 to 200 elephant on the swamp before from a distance, but today there's probably around, I don't know, 50 or so. Oh dear, I put my communication device in the wrong pocket, didn't I, Dave? And I apologize for funny noises you might have heard. So there we go, there's a nice big herd of elephants over there. Oh, sorry, monitor. And there's a huge group of water birds just to the right. There we go. There's a great white egret, woolly neck stork, sacred ibis. Also there you can see their curved bills. and the great white egrets, the woolly neck stork off to the right. And if we look quite carefully, every now and then there's a single African open-billed stork there as well. Now, there's two reasons we've come to this vast edge of the Samaki swamp. Oh, there's a topi there in the background. Hello, topi. So lots and lots happening here. Now, as I said, there's two main reasons we've come to this area. One is, of course, just these elephants in the swamp is just too beautiful. And I do love myself some lovely afternoon elephant action. As you can see, they're really enjoying the nice green grasses and sedges and reeds that are growing out of the Samaki swamp. Samaki means fish in Swahili, for those of you who are wondering. But now, Dave, if we come back across to this side, now, we've seen lots of cheetah, lots of hyena, lots of lions, only one leopard. So we actually haven't really looked for leopard too much, but we've basically driven, let me just figure out, on the edge of this tree line. Oh, where's my hand gone? On the edge of this tree line all the way around. Show everyone where we went, Jeff, all the way around. See, there we go. And we've been hoping, and this is about the closest we can get into the forest, that we might spot a leopard lounging in a tree. Alas, no luck yet, but we've still got a fair way to go down back towards the sort of west and back along the edge of the forest. I think we might have a river crossing. Hopefully it's not too deep. It doesn't look like too many people have been into this area yet, but who knows, a spotted leopard cat could be hiding somewhere around here. Oh, sorry, Megs, you just have to repeat. I'm getting very soft comms from you. Ah, look there. There's one of the residents of the Mara, the buffalo. They don't migrate much. They hang around these swamps. All the birds are taking off. Oh, they're down again. Sometimes the elephants chase them. It is very, very pretty. Now, and there we go. You can see some of the birds a little bit more clearly. Now, Violet is wondering, when can we expect the great migration to start? Well, Violet, I've got some news. Violet, as of 2 days ago, I heard there were about 20 kilometers to the south in the Serengeti, and which means they could arrive as early as the 1st of June, more likely around the 15th of June, to Silas, which is about 70 kilometers to the south of there. And we've got tents there where some of us will be based during the migration. So fingers crossed they're going to arrive early. I'm excited, aren't you guys? Now, of course, before the migration arrives, we've got such and a myriad of wonderful residents in the Mara. The topi, the tommy, the grants, the elephants, the buffaloes, and of course, one thing we haven't really managed to focus on too much is the birds. So I think I'll try find you some new bird species today. I think all of those is intermediate egrets, sacred ibis, black-headed heron. Where did the black-headed herons gone?
Well, unfortunately, we're still ironing out our little teething problems in the Mara, so there is going to be a few gremlins creeping in and out there. We're still on our northern boundary, just going very, very slowly because it's quite difficult to see tracks at this time of the day. The sun is still quite high, and that means that there's not a really nice contrast on the road, and it becomes very sort of flattened and much harder to see what's going on. So I want to go slowly just in case these Inkahumas did cross. The other thing about this road is that it is quite a busy road. Lots of vehicles go up and down on this road, and that means then that there's often a chance that tracks from this morning could potentially have been driven over. So that's why we're just going as slow as possible, just to try and see if we can't find anything. Other than the sort of lion search, we checked Sydney's dam. There wasn't too much going on there. It was fairly quiet around the dam itself. We scanned around. There wasn't any sign of the lions there. I would imagine they'll be lying in some sort of shade at the moment. It is warm enough for that, so we'll definitely check. And I want to go past where they had them yesterday afternoon, just in case they've maybe made their way back towards those little cubs. So hopefully we'll be in for a treat. It would be a really nice surprise if they were there. I also can't believe just how far Tingana walks, because we had him yesterday going into Simambili, and I was just thinking about it now because I was thinking about yesterday afternoon. And yesterday afternoon we had him crossing northwest into Simambili, going towards sort of the Elephant Plain Simambili cut line. And then this morning, well, midnight last night, he was already back at the dam cam, sawing away and around the staff village. So he's does a serious turn around, and then this morning they'd followed his tracks all the way and he went into Torchwood and was still going east in Torchwood. So the guy really can walk. So I wonder where he'll turn up this afternoon. He also seems to not be afraid of walking during the day, so maybe Tingana might pop out. And so another reason why we're checking up on this northeastern corner as well is just in case he has decided to come backward towards Buffelshoek Dam area and back to Djuma. And it's interesting just to see how much sort of distance he's been doing lately and how his movement has been sort of accelerated by these young males that have been around, so Quarantine and varying others. It seems like Gajima and Quarantine and the presence of these guys are making him move quite a bit. I'm sure Mvula is also a part of that, because Mvula being in this area must be also driving Tingana mad as he comes through and finds the scent for this male leopard. Even though Mvula is not really scent marking, he still has to go to the toilet at some point, and Tingana might come across that, and it must be sort of driving him crazy that there's all these males drifting around his territory, and that's probably why he's covering such big ground and making such a noise every night. But you can see how winter is upon us. It is really quite obvious today, and it's the first day I've really noticed it. But in front of me as I'm driving along, lots of the bush willows, the leaves are starting to change from green to yellow. So you can see two trees coming up where their leaves are getting very yellow in coloration. So it's a good sign that winter is upon us and that cold weather is now gripping this area and that these leaves are going to start dropping off. The other thing this morning was that it was incredibly obvious on Quarantine just how little grass there actually is. We've all been kind of hopeful after the rain that the grass has grown very long, but in actual fact, when I was looking on Quarantine this morning, there's massive patches of dirt and sort of lack of grass, so it's going to be a tough winter ahead again. Right, onward and forward for the search, and while we do that, Jamie, I think, is playing with lizards in the water at this stage.
I have found some lizards in the water. I definitely don't want to play with either of these two, but quite an unusual sight this afternoon to see two massive monitor lizards, water monitor lizards, gathered together in the same spot. And usually when you've got two monitors of a similar size, if they are the same sex, they tend to get quite territorial and often quite vicious with each other. But these two seem to be relatively at peace with each other. Could it possibly be that we found a male and a female? It's possible. One of them is the one that we regularly see at Twin Dams. And the amazing thing is, for the last 2 years that I've been working here, we have watched his tracks, or her tracks, I assume it's a him, going all the way from Twin Dams, walking all the way north up Twin Dams to just where the Djuma Dam is placed, at the Voyatela Dam. And that's a fair distance. That's about 2 kilometers. And you see those tracks almost every single day. There's a tentative approach happening here. The one on the right, not enthralled at all. Gliding off to find another more peaceful spot. I wonder if perhaps that's not the female, who's not terribly impressed by the attentions of the male. Although the one on the right, here we go, found a nice sun patch. There's a thickney, a water thickney. I wanted to use the old name Dikop, but that bird on the right there is a water thickney and responsible for a lot of the calls that you hear at night on the Djuma Dam camera. I thought the interaction between the two monitors was going to be slightly more fraught with drama, but it seems as though it's just basking time. That's what Saturday afternoons are for. And monitor lizards, when they do breed, have an interesting tactic. They basically have learnt where nature has provided an incubator for them. Now, the female will go up to a termite mound and she will break into the termite mound and lay her eggs there. And the termites won't feed off her eggs, but they will go and repair the hole that she's made in their termite mound. So she goes and finds an active part, and then they basically protect her eggs for her because they close them up in the termite mound itself. just listening to an update from Cheetah Plains. Afternoon, Mike. Welcome back. Sorry, everybody. You can watch the lizard while I chat to one of the other guides. Mike, what direction was that Ingwe mobile in? Okay, copy. Thanks very much, Mike. I'll make my way there shortly. A firm, got you. Right, sorry about that, everybody. Just chatting to Mike from Cheetah Plains while we look at a reptile and a bird in one shot. Obviously, those of you who are familiar with our lingo will know that I was talking about a leopard that apparently has disappeared. But the leopard said leopard was quarantine, and I'm going to go and see if I can't find him again. Perhaps we'll get lucky on this particular Saturday. Francis, absolutely. You are not the first person to make that connection. Monitor lizards are indeed related to Komodo dragons. And they don't obviously have the same kind of hunting technique that Komodo dragons have, and they're obviously much, much smaller. They are our largest lizard, though. They are the largest lizard that we get here. And they are related to Komodo dragons relatively closely. They don't, I mean, you wouldn't want to get bitten by one, but it doesn't have the same ramifications that it does if you were bitten by a Komodo dragon with their horrible combination of toxins in their saliva. Monitor lizards are just going to give you a nasty infection and whip you with that very strong tail. Which is why watching the collective effort to try and remove the monitor lizard from our house in Hoedspruit was relatively entertaining. Oh, it comes in all shapes and sizes this afternoon, and James has found something with 6 legs.
Well, yes, something with 6 legs, everybody, as yet unidentified. Now, I was looking at a grasshopper, and Craig said, in his most excited voice, he said, "I think I've got a fly over here." So I said, "Are you sure it's a fly?" He said, "It might be a stingless bee." So I said, "No, I don't think it could." "Oh, do you really think it's a stingless bee?" He said, "No, I think it's a fly." And it is a fly. It is a hoverfly, Craig. Well done. And you will see that it is not hovering, and that is the only reason that you were able to capture it on film. Because were it to be hovering, I assure you that you would not be able to capture it, because they move with an astonishing speed from side to side, up and down. But this one is unaware that he is being observed by the great fly spotter, Craig, Batter's Batman. Now, I don't want to frighten off the grasshopper we have set up as well. Yeah, exactly. Project Alpha, you say a woolly bee fly. That could well be what it is. I'm calling it a hoverfly simply because it hovers, but I don't think that that is necessarily its official name. And I love these ones. There are quite a few of them around because they look like sort of boiled sweets that you might like to eat. This one would be a sort of, I think, a lime flavor. But I'm pretty sure it wouldn't taste like a lime boiled sweet if I was to pop that in my mouth. He's really rather special. And I don't think from that angle you can see, but he's got a sort of long, sharp proboscis coming out the front of his nose that is not, it's sort of, I mean, I've said it's long, sharp, but it's not, it doesn't look like a nectar-feeding proboscis like the one you might find on, say, a butterfly or a moth. Craig, you want to come in here? Then you can... Oh, there it's hovering. Have you got it there? I told you this would form something of a challenge. You see where it's landed there? All right, let me show you. I'm going to put my hand above it. I'm sneaking very closer. I'm so stealthy. Oh, do you see my finger? Are you watching my finger? Here it goes. It's on the ground, just below my finger. Can you see? There? It's now an inch from my finger, Craig. I can't do this forever. Did you see it? Your silence is indicating that you did not. I think it's flown away. No, the boiled, sweet, woolly bee fly has flown away. Right, let's go to the grasshopper. Good afternoon, hot dog. Hot dog, you want to know what the most cool insect we see in South Africa is? I think that the coolest insect that we see here is either a jewel beetle or the rainbow shield bug, which is a bug of really amazing colours. It is the colours, unsurprisingly, given its name, of the rainbow. And it's sort of metallic, and it's got bright blue and purple spots on it, yellow and orange down the front. It really is an astonishingly beautiful looking thing. So that's one of my favourites. I enjoy the sawtooth flower mantis. They've got lovely subtle colours and they're just very beautiful. And they've got purple and pink and green and white. And I mean, some of those bee species are also very special with their different colours and the way they move around. Glowworms, I enjoy glowworms or fireflies very much. But my favourite is the cicada, of course, but that's just because it makes me think of long summer days. So that there is a grasshopper. And as I've taught many of you, and I'm going to ask you a very difficult question now, I'm going to say, how old do you think this grasshopper is? Now, I don't expect you to tell me whether it is, exactly to the day or the week even, but do you think this is an... Okay, let's make this easy. So tweet through adult or instar, okay? So you go hashtag safariLIVE, adult or instar. Instar is an immature, and tell me if you think this is an adult or an instar, because I have mentioned it a few times before, but you can tell immediately what this is from looking at it, and I shan't tell you any more than I've just told you now. Okay. Oh, very clever of me to come up with a quiz like that. I'm sure that everybody is sore amazed. Then I found something else amongst this log, sort of small fallen down tree, and that was the last of the carrot seed grass. And Craig, do you remember the name of the carrot seed grass? It has a very nice Latin name, and I'm going to say it once more this season for you. Are you ready? Tragus berteronianus. Tragus berteronianus, and that's what this one is. And it's a horrible thing because it sticks in your socks, and you have to throw your socks away afterwards. I put on a pair that I had walked through a patch of these with today, and they're now in the dustbin. That's Tragus berteronianus. And then there was quite a nice other grasshopper here, a small brown one, but it was very small and almost invisible. And so what I'm going to do is cast my hand over here. Here we go. Now, Costa and Phil, you reckon that this is an adult. Well, Costa and Phil, I'm going to say no, it's not an adult. And I'll tell you why. In fact, let's go back to this one, Craigie, if you don't mind, and then we'll go to this tiny little thing after that. It's not an adult because it doesn't have proper wings yet. Now, some grasshoppers remain wingless for their whole lives, but many of them get wings as they get older, as they enter their final stage. Now, if you look carefully at this one, and I don't know if this is the best angle for it, I might actually try and we'll have a look at him. You can see he's got wing buds, but the buds are not fully fledged wings yet, and those wings will eventually extend to the back of his body. And once they've done that, he will be completely able to fly. At the moment, he is flightless. And they go through 7 or 8 instars before they become adults. I think it's 7 or 8. And an instar basically is an immature version of the adult. But in the case of the grasshopper, of course, they do not have wings. And those great swarms of locusts, if you ever want to see how this works, just go to that Planet Earth 2 show that they've just done, and they filmed a swarm of locusts in Madagascar. And the hoppers, which is what the youngsters are called, are found on the ground, moving in their swarms, and then only after they've matured to their final stage do they take to the air in those cloud-like swarms. So thank you very much for participating in my small quiz. I don't often do a quiz. And then, as we go down to this very, very tiny thing here, can you see it there, Craig? Because in order to link to Jamie effectively, we need to show them the smallest creature we have out here. Do you see that? Can you see it? Yeah. That's the very, very small grasshopper, and we're going to go from this very small grasshopper across to Jamie Patterson, who is much bigger than a grasshopper, but she has an animal, can you believe it, even larger than she.
I know, even larger than myself, which is really quite an achievement for all of the animals out here. We have a large female elephant, and it seems as though she's taken great offense to terming her large. Nope, there we go. She just wanted another leaf to eat. I wonder how many times elephants give grasshoppers a fright. I don't know why that just came into my head, but I was just thinking about all that they feed on and the number of grasshoppers around them. I suppose the grasshoppers are very good at getting out of their way. I'm happy. We've found a lot of big animals this afternoon, a big buffalo bull, and now this lovely female elephant who's giving us a gorgeous view of her trunk at work. And you can actually see, as she feeds, and Fergus managed to get us a really stunning close-up, you can actually see the bristles on her trunk. Here she goes, whipping away at the plants and now popping them into her mouth. There you go. There's her little beard growing off at the bottom jaw. Elephants are a lot hairier than they look. They're not particularly furry animals, but they are covered in hair. A fine, very sparse covering. No, not fine, actually. Those hairs are very thick, but quite a sparsely distributed. And then, of course, their lovely tails. Where are you all alone, big girl? That doesn't seem right. I guess she's just a straggler. Looking at her, she seems to be a relatively old female. Not ancient, but I'd put her over 30, so she's definitely one of the mature females in this herd. And somewhere, the rest of the family must be lurking. She's probably just got left behind. And generally not generally, but often the older elephants take a little bit longer when it comes to feeding, especially the really old females, but I don't think she's quite there just yet. She's got a lovely long right tusk and beautiful eyelashes. Here we go, enjoying some Waltheria. We're very close to a muddy wallow. I'm hoping that she might start moving in that direction. If she continues in the direction she's going in, she's going to disappear onto Little Gowrie very shortly. She looks quite wide set to me. I wonder if she's not pregnant. Awesome guy. Yes, I think elephants probably do accidentally eat insects on a relatively regular basis, especially the things that can't jump away. I'd say grasshoppers are unlikely, but something like a caterpillar or an inchworm inching its way along a plant, and they do shake the mouthfuls off. If they get a trunk full of grass, then they give it a good beating first to get rid of the dust, so that'll probably rid them of most insects. But I don't see why they wouldn't actually consume a fair amount of insects in their life. A little bit of additional protein never hurt anybody. Oh, yes, I think they probably do. quite often. It's not intentional, but caterpillars, what else? All of the flying insects would be able to get away quite quickly. But I definitely think the crawling insects and the slower moving insects, particularly when they're eating leaves, because they don't really pay much attention. They kind of wrap their trunk around the leaves and strip the branch and put it straight in their mouths. I wonder if they taste that. I wonder if they ever eat any stink bugs. That's a horrible thought. Okay, big girl. Let's see if we get lucky. Unfortunately, it's a bit early for us to go to Chitwa Dam because the guests won't be out yet. And unfortunately, that is frowned upon as very bad manners if we go and interrupt their afternoon tea before they go on game drive. Oh, speaking of things that an elephant might accidentally eat, I believe that Tristan has found one.
Indeed, Jamie, I would imagine that a few caterpillars have succumbed to an elephant's gut in its time. Now, this one was almost being suicidal. It was going off the edge of my dashboard. You can see it's now hanging on the edge. Don't do it. It's Saturday. It's a weekend. The week is over. Don't worry. No, we've decided life is more important, and off we go. Now, our little caterpillar has been highly mobile on our dashboard. It had a little rest and now seems to be looking for something. It's going quite quickly across the front of the dashboard, and you can see how well they move. They use that sort of wavy motion, that inching motion, and as they sort of push forward, so then the legs move up, the next set of legs move up, and then they can just propel themselves forward quite easily. Now, I'm not 100% sure what butterfly or moth this caterpillar belongs to, but he's quite pretty. He's got beautiful green coloration and lots of little spots and stripes on him, and so very, very pretty indeed. You can see those fine hairs. Now, those fine hairs would be quite an irritation if they get onto you. It's going to cause a little bit of an itch, so you've got to be a bit careful. Even though it doesn't look that hairy, this guy still will have certain hairs that will make things itch and not be very comfortable at all. You can see actually the spinnerets at the back there where it can spin silk. That's quite nice. You don't often see that on a caterpillar. Don't go off the edge. Stay where you are. I feel like this caterpillar is flirting with danger. Luckily, it's gripping to quite a sort of coarse surface. We have these canvas dashboards, and so I'm sure that's quite easy to hold on to for a little caterpillar's legs. And luckily, they have more than one set of legs. Much easier to hold on when you've got multiple legs. It becomes almost like having sticky feet that you can just grip on and go where you need to. Now, I think what we might do is rescue our caterpillar and provide a grass stem that we can put it back into the bush so that it doesn't feel like it has to hang on the edge of a dashboard all afternoon, because I feel like that's going to be a very uncomfortable place for it to be. So, Chitty Chatty Meg, you're wondering if these hairy sort of the hairs that come off the body, if they sting you. Well, no, they don't sting you, but they cause irritation in your skin. So they get into your hair follicles and it just starts to really, really itch. It's not an actual sting that's going to sort of penetrate and that they have a sort of powerful injection of those hairs into you. It's more that they just get onto your skin and they have fine little hooks on them, and that gets into your follicles and it starts to really itch. And then once the hair is gone, it's actually really, really itchy still for a while afterwards. So there's probably some sort of substance that's left behind by those hairs themselves. The other thing with those hairs is that they are very, very small, as you can see there. If I put my finger with there we go. That's how big we don't want it on me, but that's how big it's actually going to be. So you can imagine how fine those hairs are. It's very, very difficult to actually see those hairs and to be able to know where they are, and so that's why the irritation carries on. See how they use their tail? It's almost like a lobster in the sea. It's the same kind of effect, basically, and the tail will push them forward as they go, or tail end, should I say. But this particular one's got quite large eyes, actually, now that I look at it. Seems like quite a decent sized eye there, and it's able to then negotiate its way around. But like I say, I'm not going to leave it hanging on the edge of this cliff forever, so we've got a little leaf here, and I'm going to put it on the leaf and then into the grass and save it. Come on, onto the leaf. There we go. Yes, you know you want to. There we go. All right, buddy. Let's put you onto the grass and get you out of here. No, don't crawl on me. I don't want hairs all over my body. There we go. I'm going to put it on a grass stalk because otherwise, in the sort of white-coloured seeds, it's going to stand out quite a bit, and that means that it's going to get a situation where it's going to get eaten by a bird. So rather lower down on the grass and where it can sort of blend in a little bit. You can see there are little sections here that are a bit greener. Now, we are going to probably go through a bad signal patch, so hopefully if there's a bit of breakup, I do apologize. It sometimes can get through this little dip that we're going to go through. Rather than risk it, and rather than risk the attack of gremlins, let's rather go across to James, who's also looking for small things to show all of you.
Yes, some smaller things because there are no bigger things. We did see a waterbuck, but it ran away. Now, we've got a very sad tale here on the top of this tree. It didn't die there. I placed it there because it's easier for Craig to film there than it is in amongst the grass. That is a giant land snail that died before it became giant. In other words, it died in its youth, and one can only speculate over such things. You know, how did this snail come to its sort of sticky end, if you like, or slimy end in the case of a snail, before it had time to live to the fullness of its immensity? And as we ponder over these things, we must remember, of course, that the giant land snail is able to live up to 10 years. This one probably lived half of that, and that's, of course, very sad. But what is interesting about it, I think, is, other than... Please do not stand on the spider, Craig. You'll be in deep trouble. That's our next thing that we're doing here. What I think is quite interesting, if we look at it, is that it gives you an indication or just an idea of how they grow, because you seldom find them this size, and therefore you sort of think that they must almost come out of the egg the same size, at full size. And the reason I'm getting tongue-tied is I'm thinking of, some of you probably don't know what I'm talking about. They're normally about that big when they get to adulthood. That's how long they are. That's why they're called a giant land snail. But they start off as a pinprick, and slowly, the shell grows bigger and bigger and bigger in the spiral. And it would just have kept getting larger and larger like that, in the sort of exponential spiral, until it attained full height at roughly 6 inches long, which I think would have been quite nice to see. But unfortunately this one was probably devoured by something taken from the flush of youth. Who knows why? Oh, right, okay. I'm going to probably hang around here. Quite a lot of interesting things going on. Before the elephants that Jamie has disappear, let's go across there and say hello to them.
Look, that one's even waving its trunk to say hello to us as well. I mean, it isn't. It's lifting its trunk at the rest of the elephants. Oh, this is going to be stunning. So James has mentioned he is going to stay where he is. I'm going to stay exactly where I am, which is sitting on the dam wall at the Djuma Waterhole. And I'm going to wait for our elephants to come and have a drink. How lovely is this? Big open area. You just can't beat moments like this with elephants. They're doing their water walk, or they were doing their water walk earlier. They've slowed down a bit now. It's their sort of excited side-to-side head sway. And it almost looks, especially because most of the time when they do it, they're going downhill towards the water. It always looks as though gravity has kind of taken over. And their excitement to have a drink. Adrian, it's a good question. Oh, look at them going. Adrian, you want to know how long an elephant could survive without water? I would say not all that long without any water at all. I mean, surely not much longer than a week or so. I'm not sure exactly the precise amount. Obviously, for the little ones, it's going to be a shorter period of time than it is for the larger ones. But water is so essential in all our metabolic processes as animals that I would say they can't survive for very long in dehydrated settings. They are water-dependent creatures. Look how excited they are. Look at the little ones. But I'm not 100% sure exactly how long that would be. What would be the longest that an elephant could survive? I would say they would start getting very weak after about a week without water. They're not really purely adapted to be completely without water. Maybe some of you know exactly how long it would be. They will drink whenever possible. So they really do enjoy a drink. Once a day at least, twice a day if they can. And Sarah, that means that they often travel quite large distances through the bush to get to water. Look at the little ones running to keep up. Water, 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 water. Hey, is that exciting? Sarah, I would say elephants could easily cover 40 kilometers in one day. Their long legs cover ground so rapidly. Although sometimes I feel a little bit sorry for the little ones that have to race at double speed. Where are you going? There's water here. Don't go all the way over there. They obviously know the best places to go and drink. They're about to collide with our Egyptian goose family, who are not impressed by this whole deal. Quick, kids. The elephants are coming into the water. There we go. Look at that female moving the algae out of her way so that she can drink the water underneath. The little one's going to take advantage of that. And they're all going to come crowding up together. Wonderful. And hopefully we're going to have some going for a swim as well. Look how enthusiastically they're drinking. They obviously were very thirsty. And they were excited about this drink. You can see it in the speed that they're sucking the water up and then transferring it into their mouths. Is that our stumpy-trunked elephant, or is that another one? She definitely doesn't have her full trunk. I mean, this could be her herd combined with another group. Typically, we only see our short-trunked elephant with 3 other elephants rather than a whole herd. I don't think it's her. I think this is a different elephant. You do find them with shortened trunks from time to time. The one that we're so fond of is not the only one. And as you can see, not disadvantaging her at all. Goodness, it's all happening this afternoon. We've got the elephants drinking, and Tristan has got hippopotamus playing.
We do indeed. They've been porpoising and chasing one another around. It's all very, very action-packed at this stage. And of course, now that you come to us, they're all going to go underwater. That's the way things go sometimes. But there's one little head poking out. And so this is Buffalo's Hook Dam pod. And there seems to be 4 of them in total that I can see. There's a big male, which is the tip of his ears that are sticking out at the moment. And then there is females bouncing around all over the place. At one point, there was a young one that actually porpoised all the way out of the water. It almost looked like a dolphin shoving itself out of the water, and there was a big splash. It was quite interesting to actually see. Now, I lie, that is not the male. I do apologize. It looks like a female as well. It's quite small, and you can see the distance between the eyes are not very big at all, and the head size itself is quite small. So I'd imagine that is another female, and the rest of them are on a serious mission to our left here. They seem to be going off on their own accord. I don't know where they're off to, but they're busy moving away quite quickly. And these are the 2 that were playing earlier. They were the ones that were bouncing around up and down. And I wonder if they're not just 2 younger hippos that are having a bit of a game with one another. But they're very active for this time of the day. I'm quite surprised. Generally, hippos at this time of the day are still a little bit sluggish and still spending most of their time kind of just sitting under the water and not really moving too much. But I would imagine it's because it's fairly cool this afternoon. It's not a very hot afternoon in comparison to what it was during the week. And that means that it's time just to take it a little bit easier. I suppose it is a Saturday, so it's time to party and time to move around. And so in the cooler weather, that's what's happening. And you can see that hippo is now taking advantage of the other one. It is busy resting on the back of the other one. So while the other one has to hold itself up, this one has decided that the back is a perfect resting spot. must admit, I love when hippos flick their ears like that. It's always, there we go. It's so cool when they do that. So, Chitty Chatty Meg, you're asking if hippos are related to dolphins and whales. Well, I've read an article where they say that they are related to whales, not so much dolphins, but whales. And there's another article that says pigs. So it's kind of in the balance between those two, and no one's actually 100% sure. They are these days in their own family altogether. They're not in the same sort of family as whales or pigs, and they do their own thing completely. But they say that if you go way back, then there are some speculation that they are similar to what whales are in terms of how they look and their behavior. There comes the big male now, so we can see his head popping up. He's got a much larger head than what the others do, and he's busy spraying a bit of water out. Now, he's got his hands full, because if he's got 3 females here, then he's going to have a tough time to keep all of them together. It's not going to be very easy keeping them in here, and I would imagine now, as winter starts coming, a lot of these waterholes are getting smaller and smaller, and I think he's going to get quite a bit of competition soon. Isn't that cool to be able to see the oxpeckers drinking? So you see, sometimes they actually don't feed off the hippos, but they use them as a platform to go drinking. They're almost like a bar stool for the oxpeckers this afternoon, and they'll use that because they know that when things like crocodiles are around, it's very difficult for them to drink on the edge of the water, and crocodiles can grab them. They also know that there's catfish around, and even birds of prey. There's not going to be very many birds of prey that are going to come dive bombing a big male hippo, so using a hippo to have a drink is a very, very clever idea indeed. So well done, oxpeckers. That was a very good idea. You can see he's not very awake. The eyes are drooping a little bit. Oh, hello to you too. Right, so these hippos are taking it easy now. It seems the playing has ended, so we're probably going to carry on. And while we do that, let's go across to James, who's got something with 8 legs and big sharp fangs.
A big sharp what? Yes, we have got something with 8 legs. I'm not sure what's big and sharp about it. Well, it does have a big sharp bottom, I suppose. Oh, big sharp fangs. Yes, quite big sharp fangs hath the garden orb-web spider. Now, we've shown you 150 garden orb-web spiders over the course of the summer, but what I wanted to show you about this particular garden orb-web spider, because we've caught him just before his probably imminent demise. And there is a male, and I'm going to point to him from behind. Can you see that, Craigus? You see my straw pointing? There's the male, everybody. Now, we don't often see him, because normally, of course, once he has managed to mate with the female, she will, well, eat him. And he looks to me like he's sneaking up there. Now, in the golden orb-web spider, and I'm not sure it's the same with the garden orb-web, in the golden orb-web spiders, what happens is the male is also about the same size as that male is there, and he will sneak up to her, and often he will produce a meal for her so that while she's eating, she's distracted, and he will then, well, not to put too fine a point on it, get on the job, as it were, and while she's eating, she will, in theory, not turn around and eat him. So he will try and mate with her while she's eating and then scuttle off before she's finished her meal and before she can grab him, sink her very sharp fangs into him, and then wrap him up in silk and eat him after. And I think that, it must be a completely nerve-wracking experience being a male golden or garden orb-web spider. I think back to the days of asking a girl to what in the States you might call the prom, but here we call the school leavers or matric dance, and how terrifying that was. I had absolutely no chance that my prospective partner was going to eat me. The worst she was going to do was say no, but now this lady here could say no and eat him entirely. So, I mean, can you imagine the level of fear that must be felt by this fellow? Anyway, I hope he doesn't get eaten. I hope that he lives on to pass further genes. Becca, you're wondering how long I think it would take to make this web. I think it would probably take about half an hour. I tell you what, from scratch, probably about an hour. Take about half an hour for all of the support threads to be set up, and then she probably have a few false starts as she starts to build the actual radial threads, the sticky radial threads. But I think about half an hour to about an hour, from complete start to finish. But she will repair it from time to time, and it's a kind of feature of the garden and golden orb-web spider's webs that they're not very neat. They're not nearly as neat as some of the other orb-web spiders. And this one, you can see there's a hole here, and she's going to have to come and sort of fix that once she's finished the date that she's having with that male. Good luck, old fellow. While this poor chap makes his inexorable move towards the object of his affection, let us head across to the Mara, where Brent Leo Smith has managed to find many of what we found one of earlier.
Welcome back to Kenya, and we are with a lovely herd of buffalo right up on the edge of the escarpment. Now, the buffalo, when they're not down on the swamps, they really favour these seep lines that come out of the escarpment. So obviously a lot of rainfall in this area, and as the water falls down, you get these wonderful little seep lines, nice lush grass, good wallowing water. If we go a little bit to the right there, Darby, there we go. There she is, a little bit to the left. Look at her, you can almost barely see her. She's got herself a nice hole, and there's some more birds for your Kenyan bird list, the yellow-billed oxpeckers. Now, here, it's far more uncommon to see a red-billed. Oh, look at her, she's got a pink nose. It's a pink-nosed buffalo. No, wait, don't hide. There we go. Hello, you. It's a very funny looking buffalo. She seems to be coming closer to come give us an inspection. Darby, she must like those dimples of yours. That looks like just a slight sort of genetic mutation there, that pink nose. And she seems to be the only buffalo with... Oh no, there's another one with a pink nose. I wonder if it's related to her. Back to the left. There we go. In between the other two, there we go, pink nose. Second pink-nosed buffalo, a youngster as well, a young bull by the looks of things. That's quite sweet. I wonder if that's your mom with the pink nose. There we go, Pinky and Pinkette.
There you go.
Quite possibly something like that might mean they are related. Oh, look at the little one. Hello, sweetness. You've even got mud on your head. That's a tiny little buffalo calf walking towards us. Oh, it's so small. But it doesn't have a pink nose. No, shame. Oh, isn't this just beautiful? So we're driving in an area that isn't often utilized, judging by the road. You can show everyone the road. That is the road. Wait, don't come around a bit. Let me just check my monitor. Okay, you see that? Oh, wait, there. Oh, there. That's the road going straight into the buffalo. So we've been exploring, obviously, and we've come across quite a few of these roads that aren't very often used, but they are proving to be quite spectacular. And also, it's quite nice to be the only people out here. Probably a good 100, 150 or so buffalo here, and a hammerkop. Here we go, another one for the Kenya bird list. Now, we do see them at Djuma, but I think this is the first time they've been on camera in Kenya. Lots and lots of oxpeckers as well. Oh, shame piece. Man, the little guy just made a noise. There you go, he's really coming close to inspect us. With Pinkette, the female with the pink nose, and I think we'll keep Pinky as the male with the pink nose. I think it's probably because we've been sitting here for a good 10 or 15 minutes. That they just got quite used to us, so they're just coming to have an inspection. And you can see some of them lying down, so they're getting more comfortable in our presence again. As you can just hear the amount of oxpeckers. I'm trying to see a red-billed, but so far only yellow-bills. Just a very peaceful scene up on the low part of the Ololo escarpment. sorry, Megs, can you just send that question again? Sorry, I'm having a bit of a problem with my earpiece. There's a yellow-billed oxpecker. James is wondering why the yellow-billed oxpecker is more common in the Mara than the red-billed. Well, James, is very interesting in question. So, I mean, as soon as you move out of South Africa, even into Botswana and places like that, the yellow-bills do become more common. I mean, you see them on donkeys and cows on the edge of the Okavango. I think it could be the fact that, well, the red-billed oxpecker in this area, I mean, they're not uncommon here. It just seems that the yellow-bills are more common, and that just could be because of the big game that we get here. A lot more sort of large mammals, buffalo, and of course the big herd of wildebeest. And I'm just going to have a quick look at their distribution in Kenya. And they're pretty well covered in comparison. And well, I know in South Africa the yellow-bills were more commonly associated with cattle, and the dip that was used on the cattle actually was what really gave the yellow-bills a big knock. The red-bills were more generally associated. Not to say they don't go on to cows and buffalo and big game, but they were more associated with your smaller wild animals, kudu, impala, wildebeest and stuff. So I think a lot of the yellow-bills took a whack by eating poisoned ticks from insecticides that were used to prevent tick-borne diseases in cattle. Of course, that's changed. The yellow-bills are making quite a good comeback in South Africa. But I can't really say why there's more yellow-bills than red-bills. It's just something I've noticed. Have you seen a red-billed yet, Dave?
Oh, yeah.
Let's try at the back there.
We got a big group. Oh.
There we go. There's a yellow. There's a female. There's a yellow feeding a juvenile. Watch. You might give it a tick. Come on, give it a tick. Oh, well, maybe there's two babies there with mom and dad. I'm just trying to see where there are more oxpeckers. They seem to be further at the back. Okay, let's go a little bit to the right. There we go. Some there. That female there seems to have quite a lot right at the back on her. It's also yellow-bills and another juvenile. I have seen red-bills. Oopsie, there go my binos. I have seen red-bills. It's not like they're not here, but I just haven't seen many of them. Hello, Melissa. Melissa would like to know how to identify a male or female buffalo. Melissa, aren't you very lucky, because we are with male and female buffalo. Okay, let's find an impressive specimen of manhood who's looking at us rather than looking away from us. Is that a third buffalo with a pink nose? That is a third buffalo with a pink nose. Well, let's start on her. It is a female. So when you look at her horns, you can see that she does have a little bit of a boss. She's quite an old female, and you can see that the top of her horns aren't very developed. And okay, well, just keep going to the right from her. There's a young bull there. A little bit more. There he is. That's the one. Now you can see that's even a young bull. So he's what we call a soft-bossed bull. You can still see that middle section of the horns. There's still hair growing there, so it hasn't sort of hardened yet. Now on a big adult buffalo bull, that whole section will be almost solid like a rock, and they need that big boss for banging into each other when they're fighting over females. Now let's see if we can see a nice big bull who's not hiding. You see one, Darby? The guy doing the Fleming grimace. Oh, no, he's still quite young. Oh, no, the guy's doing Fleming grimace, put his head down already. Yes, but there's a nice bull. What is happening with my monitor? Sorry, I lost the picture there. Okay, there we go. So there we go. That's a bit of an older bull, the one, Darby, there we go, that you got there in the middle. And you can see that boss is slowly coming together, but you can still see there is some hair growth there. Now, where is an older statesman of the buffalo herd? Okay, where are you hiding? Yes, come on. I know you're in here somewhere. I saw quite a few big bulls. Let's have a look out the back. Right at the back. Okay. Let's see where you're. A little bit to the left. There we go. There's a hard-bossed old boy right at the back there. And you can see those horns are much more massive. They are a bit bigger as well, quite a bit bigger in some cases. The males are far more muscular than the females, but the easiest way to tell them apart is definitely by their horns. The males with those very big pronounced bosses, and the females with the less pronounced bosses that don't really join in the center. I think these buffalo are going to nap here for the evening. It looks like a good spot. They got water. They've had a nice feed along this lovely green grass on the seep line. Look at her in the wallow. Now that is a comfortable buffalo. Oh, argument going on in the middle there, and that's quite common in the buffherds. But as you can see in the center, a lot of them are settling down for the evening, and well, we're very lucky because we're going to go from a lovely big herd of buffalo here in the Masai Mara in Kenya. Remember, we're still live, to a herd of something even bigger back at Djuma with Tristan.
Well, Brent, not quite just yet. We are on our way there, so we believe there's lots of elites on the dam cam, so I'm trying to get that way. I'm just going along central at the moment. Full bumble through the afternoon, fantastic, but I am looking forward to a nice big herd of elephants. We've had so many elephants over the last few weeks that in the last day or two has been a little bit quiet on the elephant front, so I'm looking forward to catching up with our pachyderm friends, and hopefully they'll be in fine fettle as they play around in the afternoon sun at Gowrie Dam, and that hopefully they haven't disappeared by the time I'm going a little quicker than I was earlier. But it's been a beautiful, beautiful afternoon, and we've been all things Masai Mara and Kenya, because I've got Jandre on the back, and so Jandre has been deeply involved in sourcing all of the equipment and the trials and tribulations of getting everything ready for Kenya. It sounds like it's been a tough few weeks trying to get everything through customs, but we're making progress, which is good. And the fact that we can actually get these visuals all the way from the Masai Mara with the visuals from Djuma just absolutely astounds me. And the Masai Mara seems to be a wonderful place. It's already providing huge amounts of quality sightings, so it's very, very cool, and I'm glad Brent is enjoying himself up there. I haven't had a chance to chat to him in the last few days, but you kind of get updates from Jamie every now and then, and I suppose I should actually phone him at some point. It's quite strange not having Brent around. I was talking to Jamie about it. Brent and I have spent a considerable amount of time together over the last few months. Well, I mean, last few years, actually. The last 2 years. We pretty much used to see each other every sort of 2-3 days while I was at Simbambili. He often used to come around. Then we lived together for a while, and then obviously across this side, spent a while with him here too. So it's been very odd not having him around. It's definitely a duller day when without Brent Leo Smith. He's quite a character, and as you all know, and so it'll be good to catch up with him again at some point. Right, so we're still getting towards the dam. We're not too far away now, and we'll try and head up that way, and hopefully the elephants will still be there. While we do that, let's go across to James Henry, who hopefully is not being like an elephant and swimming in a dam of his own.
I'll certainly not be swimming in any dam, only because it's winter, of course. Otherwise, definitely I'd be thrashing around in this dam. No, I wouldn't. It would be dangerous and silly, because there might be a crocodile in here. You just never know. Also, a terrapin might bite me on my bottom, which would be very unpleasant. There are 2 Egyptian gooses, and they were swimming very peacefully in the water, but unfortunately I think they've taken slight offence to Craig's hat. And so they've got out of the water and climbed up onto the bank, where they feel it will be easier, I think, to take off if Craig should stand up and start to attack them for some reason. Now, of course, Craig's hat is that of a gangster, really. It's got one of those sort of flat peaks on the top, kind of thing that looks like you could rest your coffee cup on it quite successfully and keep walking. And that's why the geese have got out of the dam. And, sorry, I'm finding myself hugely amusing. There is a buffalo around here somewhere. Apparently Jamie had one here a bit earlier. Was it at this dam? Treehouse Dam? Oh, it was a Treehouse Dam. So we did hear about a buffalo here. I didn't know it was the same one that Jamie had. So we are keeping our eyes very wide open. We don't want to be set upon by a buffalo. Rex is just over there having a look. Then we also have 2 very upset blacksmith lapwings. And I say they're very upset because they took off immediately as we got here and flew around making their loud sort of tinking call, and now they seem to have settled down slightly and they're carrying on with their foraging. And I'm not sure when they breed, but I think no, I think it's in the summer. I don't think they breed now, but they could have had eggs around here. Perhaps they do. We'll have a look. Right, Tristan has made it to the other waterhole where he has got, of course, the herd of elephants.
We have indeed, and I'm quite grateful because I came over the dam wall and I didn't see anything. I thought our herd had left us and had gone into the thickets and behind the dam wall, but it seems that they are still here, and it's now time for a dust bath. So there's a number of babies that are actually lying down. I can see one that's just between all of the others where they're dust bathing at the moment, and shame, that poor baby must be getting absolutely covered. There he is. You can see lying down in amongst all the legs there is a young elephant having a bit of a nap. What are you doing, little one? You're being covered in dust by your mom's feet. Look, you can see it's pushing mom's foot away. I wonder if it's saying, stop that. That's not very comfortable. I don't want dust in my face. But you're getting it anyway, little one. You are being smothered by your mother. You are not getting away with it at all. I think it's all just been too much, really. That looks like an elephant calf that just wants to have a little rest. Let's see if it decides to get up. But this is so cool. There's just dust everywhere. It almost looks like the elephants are steaming, and particularly the ones to our right here where the light is a little bit more kind of on them. They look as though there's just sort of steam cloud coming off them as they bathe. There we go. Look at that. Isn't that cool? So they will often do this after they've been in water. They'll go to the nearest sort of soft sand and they throw it on them, and that's because it will stick to this wet skin that they've now got and the mud that they've put on themselves, and that will just help to keep the skin in good condition, helps keep the temperature at a nice sort of value, and it also gets rid of any of the parasites that they might have, because once that sticks, they then go and rub up on a tree or some sort of abrasive surface, and that will just get rid of all of those parasites. But it's really, really pretty. If this was maybe half an hour later, the light would have been insane, because we would have had that gold light filtering through that dust as the elephants threw it, which would have been quite amazing. But this is a really nice herd. It's quite a large herd. There's quite a big number of them, and I'm surprised to actually see as many as there are here. I would have thought it was a bit smaller, because I saw their tracks coming up to the dam and I didn't think it was quite as large as this. And it seems like they've decided it's now time to move. You can see one female is moving with her young one, and all the rest now are starting to go. And it just amazes me how elephants use these visual cues and probably communication that we can't hear, as to say, right, enough dust bathing, it's now time to start moving. It is really, really cool. Lots of little babies in this herd as well. Most of these small ones, well, that one that was lying down and is now resting its foot, is probably, I would say, not even a year old at this stage. Oh, careful your head, you're about to get pooped on. That's not ideal. Yeah, so you've got to be careful out here when siblings are lifting their tail. You don't want to be moving underneath. Oh, wait, there we go. No, avoided disaster. Well done. The other day I saw an elephant walking like that, and its mother just dropped a ball of dung on top of its forehead, and it stuck there, and it wouldn't actually go away. It was quite funny. Oh, and it's Fang's herd, and Fang is having a rest on the side here, which is very cool. She's just sitting down. There we go. There's Fang. So for those of you who don't know Fang, she's this female with this tusk that grows backwards underneath her chest, and she seems to be just having a little afternoon pose. She almost looks like she's posing for a swimsuit shot in the late afternoon light. Yes, we are getting your best side, Fang. Thank you for that. Oh, there we go. Up she stands. There we go. Isn't she spectacular? She's one of the most beautiful females. She's so big and with that prominent tusk, and I really like her herd. Her herd is so relaxed around us, and we've had so many special sightings with this particular elephant. So while we enjoy Fang's herd and we sit with them in this afternoon, because it seems like they're just going to spread out and feed in the beautiful afternoon light, let's go across to Jamie, who I think has got an elephant of her own.
I do, and we just had to show you this really, truly stunning, stunning image of an elephant bull feeding in the afternoon light. So it's been an elephant-filled cat-a-day. We'll have to make sure that we get some cats towards the end, but I for one, will never complain when there's an elephant. Thanks, boy. Just released some of the products of digestion in the opposite of a burp. And he's just moved that dead piece of sort of fallen branch off the grass, because that's where all of the protected fresh green grass and fresh green plants are going to be. And the lovely thing is he's walking amongst wild aniseed, and while we're sitting here the smell is actually wafting back over to us. We've got the smell of elephant and the smell of aniseed, which is a really lovely combination. Oh, you should have shaken that off, boy. That is a serious... he wasn't planning on eating it, that's why. Moving the broken branch out of his way. And this is the perfect spot, because there's a pipe that runs from here to 3 in a row pan, and there's often water here, so the plants are much, much cleaner, much greener. Can you just repeat that name for me, Megan? Sorry, I just want to make sure I got that right. King Quad. King Quad, I've never seen an elephant cough. I don't know if they can. That is a really good question. We've spoken before about elephants hiccuping. We've spoken before about them vomiting. But can they cough? I guess they probably can, but I've never seen it before. Seen them sneeze, certainly, to try and get the air out or the dust out of their trunks. I've never seen an elephant cough. We know, of course, that their lungs are attached directly to their chest wall, sort of the inside of their chest wall. So there's no space, there's no pleural fluid, and there's no pleural space between the membranes of their lungs and the inside of the chest or inside of the ribs. But does that mean they can't cough? I really don't know. Do any of you know if elephants can cough? I guess they must be able to. I mean, a cough is really just a contraction of muscles and the contraction of a diaphragm. Why don't you send that through on #safariLIVE on Twitter? Well, who knows? Tristan is also with elephants, and perhaps he has seen an elephant cough before.
Well, Jamie, I'm just trying to think about that, and I don't think I actually have seen an elephant cough before. So that's quite an interesting one. I'm not sure that I have. Just trying to think back about that. But no, I don't think I actually have heard an elephant cough. I've heard them splutter and blow their trunks and get rid of mucus out of their trunks, but never actually cough. So that's quite an interesting phenomenon. Never really thought about it either. I suppose it does happen. You can see Fang is just majestically striding. We went down nice and low so we could get this sort of ground level view of her moving through the grass. And isn't that beautiful as she strides off? It would be nice if she was facing the other way and coming towards us, but it's still very, very, very pretty. It's as majestic as you're going to get, and that sort of scene out of Africa of that grass and this big elephant striding through it really is very cool indeed. Now the whole herd is starting to just move up towards quarantine, so it should be very pretty. Nilya, you're wondering why the tusk is growing in a different direction. Well, it's just an abnormality, so it might have been when she was younger. For some reason she used that tusk and it kind of twisted and turned in the actual sort of gum line, and that's why it's now grown in the odd way. Or it could just be a defect of that particular tooth. So, you know, as people, we have teeth that grow in odd directions, and so it can sometimes happen. I've seen it with elephants before. There's quite a few elephants that have tusks that grow in odd directions like this, but she's probably one of the most prominent ones that we have in this area, just because of how long her tusk has actually gotten. Now, they are starting to disappear a little bit, so I want to try to keep up with them, so I'm just going to turn around and try and get myself back with the herd itself. Like I say, we were sort of down much lower than them because I just wanted to get that sort of eye level shot and get that lower sort of feeling, just to show you how big they actually feel. I often find when you get a bit lower with elephants, they feel a lot sort of larger than what they actually are. Now it's a little bit bumpy where we are. The elephants have done a bit of work on this, and also with the amount of sort of rain that we've got and the soil that we're on here is very, very sort of soft, so it gets eroded quite quickly and you get these striations. So I do apologize if the camera is bouncing around a little bit. There we go. Right, so we're going to try and get our better view of our ellies, and while we do that, let's go back to Jamie with her elephants.
I'm still with our big bull, who is so beautifully relaxed. He's giving us the most amazing images. Look at those eyes. There's something wrong with that one. And that wax build-up at the corner is relatively common. Hello, my boy. What have you got to say for yourself? Though they do often get that milky build-up in the corner of their eyes. I know. Hey, my boy. Oh, after an apple leaf. But he does have a puncture wound on the top of his trunk, and that eye does seem to be quite swollen. I don't think that he's terribly comfortable on that side of his face. And injuries like that, pretty common in elephant bulls. When they push and shove each other around, every now and again they get a bit too rough with each other, and they end up injuring or puncturing the skin. He's been such a lovely, polite gentleman. I wasn't going to try and get past him. We're a little bit too close. I think it would upset him. And it's a nice, peaceful moment. Look at those wrinkly elbows and legs. Okay, I think our bull's going to move off shortly, but luckily Tristan's got his elephants once again.
We do. They're all around us at the moment, and they seem to be moving very quickly. I don't know what's spooked them, but for some reason the whole herd has just decided to move as fast as possible, and looks like they're going to go up to quarantine. And if they do, we're going to end up with some beautiful late afternoon sights of these elephants as they feed across quarantine in the late afternoon sunshine. Now, there's typical of any elephant herd is there's always got to be the obligatory misbehaving bull at the back of the herd, and so this is one of the young guys that's not really interested with keeping up too fast. The rest of the herd kind of moved off quite quickly, but he's just strolling and taking it very easy. He's on his sort of Saturday afternoon stroll, and you can see he's now just checking us out and making sure we're aware of his presence. Okay, I see you. Off you go. Now, sometimes you'll find with these bulls that they'll try and sort of show their manhood, and that's all just to try and intimidate us a little bit further. So you'll find it's a common trait amongst elephants where they get their genitals out to one another, and it's all, like I say, forms part of this sort of intimidating with size situation. So Shamama, you're asking if I've ever seen ellies. I didn't catch that last part, Megs. If they were attacking another member of the herd, is that what you said? Shumming another member of the herd. Well, yes, I've seen them shumming an elephant from the herd, but I think it wasn't actually an elephant from that herd. So young bulls, often when they get pushed out of their herd, their natal herd, when they reach that sort of 12 to 14 years old, they sometimes try latch onto other herds, and then you'll find that they get completely shunned and completely pushed out, and they don't actually end up being part of the herd at all, and you'll find the females chase them off and push them away. Also, when you see the young males coming into that sort of maturity, and once they reach that 12 years old, even the adult females are going to end up doing it. Now I see Fang is lying down again. She's just standing up on the road, but she was lying down, and she seems to really like to lie down, which is quite strange for females. Generally females don't actually do that very often. They tend to stay standing so that their young ones are completely protected, but she just stood up again now. I wonder if she wasn't having a little dust bathe on the road and just found it much easier to to sit rather than standing. But the whole herd is out here, and we've got such cute little babies. Look at this. So cool. We're being very, very spoilt with elephants lately, and this herd is fast becoming one of my absolute favorite herds to spend time with. There are just so many elephants in it, and they all seem to have characters, and the fact that you've got this sort of iconic leader and lots of babies in the herd, it really is a very, very special group of elephants. You can see they're still covered in mud. Some of them have done a better job of dust bathing than others. This particular young bull has definitely not, cow. I don't know why I said that's a bull, but this is a cow. I don't know, she hasn't seemed to be doing too many dust bathing at all. So, Riti, you're wondering how the elephants keep themselves cool in the summer. Well, Riti, it's a lot harder. You can imagine when the temperatures start to push into almost 50 degrees and 120 degrees Fahrenheit, being a big, large grey animal like this is not easy at all. So what they'll do is they'll spend a lot of time in deep shade. So during the hot parts of the day, they try to find shade. They spend a lot more time around water where they'll come and drink, and they'll spray water on those ears and try and cool that blood in the ears a lot. You'll also find the movement of the ears a lot more substantial than what you see now. Most of these elephants this afternoon, you can see their ears are hardly moving. Every now and then you'll see a flutter of the ear, but it's really sort of null and void in comparison to the summer. The elephants' ears will just flap non-stop as they try and cool themselves down. And so that network of veins on the backside of the ears is vitally important to keeping their blood network very, very cool. And you'll find that they can process their entire sort of volume of blood within a series of 3 to 4 flaps, which means that they can cool the body by as much as 2 degrees centigrade in those 4 flaps, which is really very, very, very interesting indeed. Now, it's amazing just to watch how this herd responds. As soon as Fang starts moving, the rest of the herd moves. If she doesn't move, they all stay very, very still. But we just kind of have them walking all over on our left-hand side. It's such a beautiful picture watching this massive herd of elephants strolling through. Now I'm going to try and see if I can't get towards the front edge of the herd, and we can then watch them all kind of coming across quarantine clearings, because it's going to be spectacular when they do. What I'm trying to do is just try to get around them so that we don't end up pushing them in any way. Now it's just Fang that we need to worry about here in front, and then we'll have broken past them. And like I say, I was hoping they were going to come up here, so I'm really happy that they did, because it should be very, very pretty when they are on these open sections. So let's just get a little bit further forward, Jandre, before we swing around. Going to try and just loop around a little bit. So CJ, you're wondering how many different herds we follow. Well, CJ, we've got a few herds that we recognize. There's the short trunk herd that James had this morning, and they're a beautiful sort of group that we often get. Now this is going to be amazing. Hold on, I'm just going to get us into position before these elephants arrive in this big open clearing, which should be as good as it gets. So we have the short trunk herd, we have Fang's herd, and then there's another herd that's got a female with very long, very straight tusks. So those are the three that I kind of recognize. It's difficult because we do get lots of other elephants coming through, but from time to time we do sort of recognize some of them, and it's normally because they've got an identifying feature. So like Fang with this tusk that grows this odd way, but look at all these elephants coming onto the light at the background there as well. It is so, so beautiful. So you can see, look at that. They're all just striding right out in the open, and there's the rest of the herd in the background. And you can get a true sense of just how many elephants are actually here. Really, really cool. She's just stopping now. I wonder if she's going to sit down here. It looks like she almost might be sitting. What's wrong, Fang? Something doesn't seem right. She's busy. It looks like she actually has quite bad diarrhea, which is not a good sign. So what's wrong, girl? Something is... You see, she's now gone backwards. She just had some sort of discharge that came out of her rear end, and she's actually come back to sniff it now. I wonder if she's not got a bit of a tummy problem at the moment. It sometimes does happen where they get some sort of issue, and then she'll find that she's kind of just investigating to see what's going on. But it's very strange to see elephants having diarrhea. You do sometimes see it in the summer months when they eat vegetation that's got a lot of moisture in it. Do you have a wound maybe somewhere there that you're worried about, girl? 'Cause she's busy spraying dust on it now. Wow, this is so cool. I wonder what's wrong. But you can actually see there's still some stuff coming out from underneath her tail that is of liquid nature, and I don't know what it is. I've honestly never seen that before. She looks healthy though. She doesn't look as though she's in any way in sort of got skinny or anything like that. Maybe just eaten something not quite right and it's taking its toll a little bit. But she definitely has got diarrhea at this stage, which is not ideal. You can see she's not comfortable even when she's trying to go to the toilet. She kind of is pushing her back legs down a little bit. Shame, girl, are you not feeling 100%? Like I say, it can happen that they do sometimes get a bit of diarrhea, but she's not in bad condition in any way, so I'm not worried about her. It's just that she's in probably a little bit of discomfort is all. Are you going to sit down there, girl? What's wrong? But you can see that stuff that is dripping down from underneath her tail there every now and then. And I can honestly say I've never seen this before, so I'm not sure what that could be a sign of. But there you can see a bit of mucus coming down. So she's obviously had a bit of diarrhea today, and that's causing her discomfort. Is that why you're trying to lie down every time? Now, she won't give birth, obviously, through that area, so it's not that she's pregnant or anything like that, in case some of you are wondering, but it's very, very odd. She's definitely not comfortable with whatever it is. Let's see if she's going to lie down. I just want to spend a bit of time with her and just see if she's not going to just settle down. She might find that she just wants to rest a little bit. And you can see the herd is not sure what's going on. Some of them have moved off a little bit. Others are standing and watching. I think they're wondering what is going on with their leader at the moment. She is the matriarch of this herd. You find normally when she moves, the rest do. And they all seem a bit kind of confused by it. And a lot of the females have actually come closer to where she is. I wonder if she's not communicating with them, telling them, I'm not quite right, I need to rest here. And the rest of them will slowly start to come this way. Looks like she's going to sit down again. So, John, you're wondering how old Fang is. Well, John, to be honest, I'm not 100% sure. It's quite a difficult thing to age elephants correctly, and particularly sort of older elephants. She is a much older individual. She's not a young female, so I would say she's probably, if I had to guess, I would reckon that she's probably... Oh, what's wrong, girl? No, you're not feeling well. Shame. Seems like she's really not feeling it this afternoon. She's normally quite an active female, but you can see she's kind of just lying there now. And I wonder if she's not going to just spend the night relaxing. It's much like us as people. When we're not well, we don't feel like being too sort of mobile. You'll find sometimes she'll then just lie down like this and take it easy. So a lot of you are saying that you're very worried about her. Well, I don't think you need to be worried just yet. Like I say, it is not uncommon for an elephant to get diarrhea. They do sometimes get a little bit ill, and they find that they just need to rest a little bit. So I don't think we need to stress too much. I will let the relevant authorities also know that she's kind of displaying this kind of behavior, just in case there is something that they want to come and check on her. As I say, I'm not a vet, so I don't really know what signs could be if she is in distress, but she's definitely taking it very, very easy. And she's not pregnant, that's for sure. I can see that she doesn't have a very swollen sort of system, so it's not that she's going to be giving birth by the looks of it, but she definitely is trying to take it easy. And the interesting thing is the other elephants and their sort of response. At this stage, a lot of them have just spread out and are feeding, and they're not really moving too far away, but there's also not a massive concern. If she was really, really ill and she was really struggling, you would find all the other elephants would have probably come to her aid and come to defend her, whereas you can see they're still busy feeding. So I don't think it's anything to worry about just yet. Elephants are very perceptive to one another, and I've seen when an elephant has actually died, the herd comes right around them and comes to where that elephant is. And if you see them with sick young individuals, so sometimes when they give birth to babies that are not well, then you'll find the whole herd is there and protecting. So I don't think they're too stressed about it at this stage, but it is definitely interesting behavior. So, Francis, you're asking if she could be having a miscarriage. I suppose it is possible, but like I say, the discharge that we're seeing is coming out of her anal area and not out of where she would have a baby, so I don't think so. But there we go, she's up again. What's wrong, girl? Are you uncomfortable? Like I say, you never know. She might have eaten something. In fact, we were talking about poison apples this morning and that elephants can eat them, and maybe she's just had one too many of those, and that's what's affecting her bowels a little bit. But you can see she sniffs where she's been lying. You see that? So she's almost as though to work out what is actually coming out of me. I'm not quite sure. And she's talking a lot. She's lots of low grumbles as well. So it's interesting to see, and I'm going to spend time with her and just see how she does. But I hope she's okay. It is very concerning that she doesn't seem quite herself this afternoon. Right, well, while we kind of sit with Fang and see how she does and how the rest of the herd responds, let's go across to James, who I believe has found some elephants of his own.
Found some elephants. I'm not sure if it's a herd or if it's just a few bulls. But they are, well, slightly closer than we expected. There's one that you can see there. And there are a few more around him. The one that we were coming towards is actually to the left of where you're looking now. That's him there. And we're about 80 meters from him. And we came up onto this termite mound, and suddenly there were a whole lot more the other side of the mound. Now, we're just going to listen to what Rex has to say about whether or not we can stay here. We should be okay. But if that one that you're looking at now keeps coming in that direction, I think we might have to beat a hasty retreat. Yeah, there's a tiny little calf here. There's a very little one. You see it? Just through there. I think that we might have to extract from here. Because we don't want them to come grazing all the way up to this mound and discover us here, and then they'll get a big fright. There's another cow there. This is really exhilarating stuff. If they were all that side of the mound, then I would be tempted to stay here. I'm just going to quickly ask Rex. Rex, right? Okay, he says we can stay, it's fine. Because we're up top here, so we should be fine. Oh dear, okay, we're going to go to Jamie up back here. He's not working, so let's head across to Jamie.
We are on the southern boundary of Cheetah Plains, searching to see whether or not we can find Q again. Quarantine, the dominant male leopard in this area. Be Fergus's first time seeing Quarantine. Or Quarras, as he was once affectionately termed by one of the other guides. We're still laughing at that. Quarras! Quarras, my boy! We're gonna go find Quarantine. He's apparently disappeared off into this drainage line. It's gonna be tricky. Oh, I didn't know there was a road here. Shall we? It doesn't really look like a road. Road less traveled? Always take the road less traveled. That worked out so well for us this morning. Resulted in a tree. That's definitely a road of sorts. There we go. It's a junction. That's so you can turn left and right, Ferg. Okay, cool. I have no idea what this road is called. I don't think I've ever driven on it. Which is saying something, because I'm pretty sure I've driven every other road on our traverse area. Oh no, I have. I've just come the other way. Well, it's a good place to start our search for Quarantine. And failing that, there are 3 male lions. James had one of them this morning on the sunrise safari. But as it starts to get dark, there's 3 male lions on Mala Mala, which is just to the south of Cheetah Plains. So hopefully they'll show up towards the end of the sunset safari for Catterday. We've had such an elephant-filled Catterday. Shame, I hope Fang's okay. Sounds as though she's really not feeling particularly well. Whether or not we find quarantine or the lions on Mala Mala, Brent is fulfilling a cat-a-day promise.
Well, there we go. We're back in Kenya with an exquisite tipple skirchy and Maasai giraffe. But wait, it's Saturday.
Okay, we're still here. Sorry about that crash cut. I'm not going to worry too much about the technical difficulties at the moment. We're going to stay on this mound for now. And we're just having the most wonderful time watching them feed past us. Now, a termite mound can give a slightly false sense of security. But unless an elephant really doesn't like you, then there's no reason to suspect that these ones, even if they became aware of us, would be that distressed by us. We should be fine, so we're just going to stay right here and let them graze and browse quietly past us. Now, if you're struggling, oh dear, Rexon unfortunately seems to have some kind of consumptive cough, and so he keeps coughing. I know you might not be able to hear me very well, but it's important that we just whisper quietly. There is almost no wind at all at the moment, and it's completely still up here, and it is amazing how being in the presence of these animals, so close by, makes one feel so very much alive. You can hear everything around you. You can feel the slightest breeze because you're trying to think, where's the wind blowing? You can smell the slight change in smell. You can hear even oxpeckers calling miles away from you. Everything is just that much more kind of crystalline, crystal clear. And Craig, unfortunately, is very, very uncomfortable right now. Not because of the elephants, but because he's kneeling on a rock-hard termite mound. I don't think there are more than 4 or 5 elephants here. I'm just listening to where there might be some others, but I think it's only the 4 or 5. 2 groups. This is very special. I don't know, I'm just sorry we don't have better sound for you, because to hear the sounds of these elephants feeding, do you know who that is? That looks like the it's the half-drunk herd, everybody. We know her. That's the half-drunk matriarch in front of us there. So she's quite a young cow with a small baby. And the small baby is hidden in amongst all of those leaves there. I think she may have joined up with another 1 or 2, because there are definitely at least 5 animals here. There's a young bull down there, which I think Craig is going to struggle to show you, and then the rest of the little herd just further up to the north of where we're sitting now. You right, Craig? Do you need semi? Okay, when you need to link, or when you get tired, let me know, and I will prevail upon Megan to link. Just give me a nod with your gangster hat. You see the little one? And all around the doves calling their evening song. I can even hear, if you can believe it, it's probably a wedding going on I don't know, 15 kilometers away as the crow flies in Dixie, which is the community just nearby. As the air's got thin now, you see she stopped feeding. She's become aware of us. There we go, she's picked us up. She's going to move away. There we go, that's beautiful. She's become aware, she's not too worried, and now she's moving off. Okay, we're going to go across to the Mara, where Brent has yet again found a bevy of predators.
Welcome back to Kenya. Sorry about that. Remember, you are on a live African safari, so we do have some technical problems from time to time. Unfortunately, that was not so technical. It's just some dead batteries. They are replaced, and isn't this an absolutely exquisite scene coming to you from the Mara Triangle in Kenya? We are with the Djuma Pride. Isn't it gorgeous? The giraffe is still keeping a close eye on the napping lionesses, and in the distance you will see what I'm a little bit worried about, but probably not as worried as Dave, since he's got to look after the cameras. That is a very large storm heading in our general direction, and I can speak from experience that these storms can be quite hectic, and that is actually where our rain comes from mostly when we get it. Oh, we got a bit of a movement on the right-hand lioness. There she is. She's just popped her ears up. Remember, hashtag safariLIVE if you've got any questions for us. This is live from the Masai Mara in Kenya. No, just a casual neck stretch before popping down to sleep. There we go, a little bit of a head lift. Perusing to see if there are any snacks about. And this pride at this time of the year, while the wildebeest aren't here, their favourite snack is an ingiri. Do you know what an ingiri is, Dave?
Thompson?
No. One more guess. Yes, well done, Dave. It is indeed a pig. It is a warthog. And the Djuma Pride seem to specialise in taking down poor pigs in the long grass. And it looks like they're a bit more well-fed than the last time we saw them. You can see the giraffe disappearing in the background. And you can see the amount of flies that are here. Now, we've seen our Kruger animals get quite upset with flies, and these guys seem to have mastered the art of a meditation, because the flies don't seem to bother them nearly as much. And look at them all in her nostril. Oh dear, I'd be smacking myself silly if that was me. Very zen lioness. Maybe she does yoga. Probably not. Well, Deborah, I couldn't agree with you more. Deborah is talking about the scenery, Dave. So, I mean, it is absolutely stunning. Now, the word, the Mara, which is a Maasai word for this area, of course, since it is the Masai Mara, is basically means dotted or speckled, referring to these trees growing like that. So, very speckled scenery, or Mara scenery. And it is possibly one of the most exquisite areas to view wildlife in the world. You just have these absolutely magnificent backdrops, including a large storm that's getting closer. Now, the last time I got stuck in a storm, let's keep coming across, I was somewhere over there, probably about 30 kilometers away, where the rain is about to start falling near that patch of sunlight, and it was quite a big storm. This one looks to be just as big. I don't think it's going to go to that area. I actually think it's going to come straight on towards us, but I think at the moment, as long as there's sunshine over there, that's where Musiara Gate is. As soon as the rain starts getting there, I know we've got to pack up and do a Ferrari safari up the Ololo escarpment to escape getting wet. That is a very contented looking lioness there. Oh, what's the giraffe spotted next? Giraffe, what are you going to lead us on to next? Nothing? You're just marching about? Now, quite often when you see giraffe in the mara, it looks like they're eating grass, but of course we know that they don't eat grass. They're actually feeding on small balanites and small acacias and other small bushes that are actually obscured for us by the long grass. And well, we're going to leave the lazy lines and start making our way back up the Olololo escarpment. But while we do that, we're going to go across to Jamie, who's with one of her most favorite animals of all.
Absolutely one of my favorite animals of all, because they are such wonderfully intelligent creatures. We've got a hyena taking a snooze on the open area of cheetah plains, sniffing delicately the wonderfully enticing scent of rotting buffalo that is wafting across the plains as we speak, which to a hyena must smell like the delicious scent of happiness's cooking, wafting across quarantine clearings. Unfortunately for them, there's no chance of a meal just yet, because there's 3 male lions feeding off said buffalo, and a hyena is nothing if not smart, and they're definitely not going to take that chance. There's actually 2, that's why I'm saying they. There's the second one. It's just popped out. Hello. Here we go. We don't often see we don't often see hyena on cheetah plains, so it's always pleasant when we do. There's one without a tail that we see every now and again. Once, on a very memorable occasion, walking very close to Tingana. And then, it is obviously a meeting of the scavengers. Well, there is a group of white-backed, they all look like white-backed from here, white-backed vultures waiting patiently for their turn at the carcass. Hunched over in a very characteristic position. So now we've got to hope. I don't know how much of that buffalo is left. So now we've got to hope that, well, the male lions decide to come in this direction if they want to drink, or perhaps if they want to roar a few times. What amazes me is the fact that this morning, early this morning, we heard those male lions roaring very close to our camp. At least one of them, because there's 3 of them there, therefore one roaring. There were 2 roaring, so one of them has to have arrived here. They've covered an enormous amount of distance first thing this morning. Vultures, of course, don't have to walk. They will cover far greater distances by soaring. I'm sure you're all wondering what's happening with Tristan and his Ellies. Let's go and find out from him.
Well, the rest of the herd has disappeared and Fang is all by herself and is still not looking well. She's now all of a sudden just seemed to perk up, but she's been sitting in the exact same spot the entire time we've been standing here and has been kind of up and down and lying down and really hasn't looked great. But now all of a sudden she's up and moving as though nothing is wrong. So I'm not sure what's going on with her at the moment, but definitely is not 100%, and it is concerning. I don't like seeing animals in distress in any way, and it worries me a little bit because she is such a huge part of this whole safariLIVE family, and I know many of you have watched her many times, and she's such a beautiful animal that it can be a bit distressing, and I'm, like I say, a bit concerned about her, and we've definitely let everybody know that should know that there is this sort of symptoms playing out, and we'll see what they say, because this time of the year you can sometimes get sort of anthrax that can come out because of the spores that are hidden in the ground, and it sometimes does happen with an elephant getting it, so you can see it from time to time, but I don't know if it's that. She doesn't seem that bad, but it's still not 100%, that's for sure. Now I'm going to try and just get way ahead of her and then turn off. She seems all of a sudden to be quite sprightly though. So, Lisa, you're wondering what she could eat to make her tummy better. Well, it's unlike humans where they can just kind of go and get something to sort of nibble on or some sort of food item. It really is not that easy for them. So you'll find that sometimes they just try and get plain leaves or grass. They'll also sometimes even eat soil. There's microbes in soil and varying sort of nutrients that they don't get from a lot of other things that can help. But isn't that beautiful with the sort of sunset in the background? That's very pretty. She all of a sudden seems much better though. She seems to be moving a lot more. At one point she almost looked a bit wobbly on her feet, but now she seems to be striding and is almost back to her sort of normal, confident self, which is quite something. Now I'm going to just try and reposition us again because of the light that we've got on her over her shoulder there. It's very pretty. Now the rest of her herd just disappeared off into this area here on our left hand side, so it's almost like she's realized the herd has now drifted away and that she's going to try and catch up with them. But there's another young bull over here, so let's see how this sort of interaction goes. He's coming back towards where she is. There's been lots of grumbles that have been going on and she's been calling quite a bit, and I wonder if the herd might not turn and come back towards where she is. But here we go. So she's just under the marula tree at the moment. Hello boy. Are you going to go and see what's going on with Fang? So Izzy, you're wondering how big is Fang's herd in numbers. Well, earlier I was trying to count them, and I was busy doing it when Fang unfortunately started to show that she wasn't well, so I didn't get it the whole way, but I think there should be around just over 30 of them in that herd. So the next time we see the whole herd out in the open, we'll have to count them for you to make 100% sure, but somewhere around there. Now, if it wasn't for the fact that Fang wasn't feeling very well, that would be one of the most beautiful pictures ever. The two sort of elephants under that sunset in a big marula tree. It really is a very special picture. Now let's see the interaction between these two. Jandre, I'm going to try and just go forward a little bit so that you don't have that bush in your way. Now you see he's busy sniffing her as well, just trying to see and work out. And you can actually, there's a really cool picture of just how big Fang actually is. Look at her size. The male's on the left, and that's not a particularly young male. That male's probably already in his 20s. He's a big boy, but you can see she's a similar sort of size. And look how he's smelling her. Now she is dribbling from... look at that. That's interesting. Maybe she is having a miscarriage. You see, look, she's dribbling from... There we go. And he's busy smelling it. And it's a clear liquid. There we go. You can see. I wonder if there's a little bit of blood in there as well. Maybe she is having a miscarriage. It's possible. Earlier it looked like it was coming from below her tail, but she's definitely dribbling from there. And you can see, look, she's now smelling where she's just urinated or dribbled from. And now she's picking up dust, and it looks like she might spray it under her tummy. You see that? This is the most interesting behavior. I have never in my life witnessed it before, and I honestly cannot tell you what it could be. It really is quite strange. What is wrong, girl? What is going on? She's not pregnant enough to be giving birth, that's for sure. The male seems to be sniffing it and becoming almost aroused by this all, which is quite strange. And look at the dust, the gold dust as well. Like I say, if it wasn't for the fact that the sort of symptoms are worrying and that she looks a little uncomfortable, it would be probably one of the most magical elephant scenes I've had in a long time. There's that setting sun in the background. But she seems like she's okay now. She's definitely walking a lot better than what she was earlier. Let's see. It would be a massive turnout for the book. But there you go. See, it's still leaking from her anal area as well. I'm not 100% sure what is going on with her. The bull is definitely intrigued by her as well. You see, look how he's smelling wherever she's discharged. What's going on? Like I said, I have no idea, but it is slightly concerning to say the least. We often become so vested in these animals, and it's sometimes very difficult to watch these kind of things where you see an animal that's not quite right and you can't understand what's going on. Obviously we can't speak to them and they can't speak to us, and it becomes very difficult to know what actually is going through that elephant's mind, or whether or not this could be something that is very serious. And like I say, I'm not a vet, so for me I don't know if those kind of symptoms are anything to worry about, or if it's just something that will pass. And with her, I've just never seen it before, and that's where it becomes a bit worrying. So, H. Macy, you say if something happens to the matriarch, is there a next in line? Yes, there will most definitely be. So, there will be another senior female that will lead the herd around and take her around and show what goes on. And she will have learned from that matriarch. So, it will definitely happen that another one will pull into it and fill into that area. So, you'll see that that's not too much of a stress for the herd. Obviously, the herd would go through a period of quite a lot of stress just in that situation where they lost the matriarch, because it'll be a massive change for them and they rely quite heavily on the matriarch at times. And so it will definitely be a little bit of a stressful period, but there will be another female that will take over and become the matriarch of that particular herd. Now, if they go into this thicket on the left, I'm going to leave her there because I don't want to go crashing around her and stressing her any more than she is. The rest of the herd is just feeding off to our left here. They're all in the thicket here, so she's going back to where the herd is, which is where she needs to be, particularly if she's not feeling well. You don't want her to be sort of harassed by any sort of predator. And if she goes back into the herd section and it's not very sort of, and it gets too thick, I'm going to leave her there and let her just carry on with her day. I don't want to stress her in any way. But the bull is kind of right behind her the whole time. He's just on my left-hand side here, and so is she. And the rest of the herd is just behind them. I can actually see most of the herd behind them as we speak. So I'm just going to go around. There we go. It's okay, girl. It's okay. What's wrong? She's come right up next to the side of the car, so I'm just getting quite quiet because I don't want her to feel like we're challenging her in any way. But she's definitely been leaking quite a bit all afternoon because she's got lots of fluid. It almost looks like a male in must. But isn't this incredible? We've got her in front, the young male to our left, who's going to come into picture now. Okay, guys. I'm really not sure what's going on with her. Shame, my girl, you're not feeling well. I'm trying to see if there isn't maybe a wound somewhere on her, but I can't see now. She is, like I say, the bull is right here as well, so you just behave yourself because you're being naughty chasing her. Stop chasing her around. And he's far too young to mate, so it's not one that we have to worry about. But she's now coming around the back of us. So she's now going back towards her herd, which is actually the best thing that could have happened. I'm quite glad that she's come around this side and she can then maybe head back towards where her herd is. Now what could have happened as well is she might have had a miscarriage earlier, and this is just the body's response now. So we're just seeing the back end of it, and that's why she's still a little bit sort of... No, leave her alone, you naughty bull. You can see she's trying to get away from the bull elephant, and she almost comes to us every time. Leave her. No, I don't know what his problem is. Leave her alone. Come on. It's okay, my girl. She is right next to us as well now. They're just kind of doing this sort of circular motion around us at this stage, and I actually have no idea why. Maybe he's just really interested in what's wrong with her, but this is the most unbelievable thing. To have these elephants kind of just going circular motions around us really is super interesting. It's okay, girl. She's dribbling again. Leave her alone. Okay, it's okay. It's okay. See, he's smelling her urine again. So he's trying to see if she's possibly in heat. Look, there we go. He's smelling on the ground. You can see there. You see he's got his trunk down and sniffing where she just dribbled. Now I wonder if she's... Maybe she's coming into heat as well. I don't know. Girl, what's going on? But I feel like we are part of this whole thing now. They are really kind of on both sides of us at the moment. Are you okay, my girl? This is one of the most incredible interactions I've ever had with an elephant. We've got, like I say, a bull on one side, a female on the other, and they are within meters of this car. They are really, I would say, a meter on either side, and they are actually throwing dust all over themselves, and we are being covered in it. This is so interesting. But I'm just glad that she's able to use us almost as a barrier between him and her at this stage. I just don't want him to harass her too much. I know that's a selfish thing to say, and we shouldn't be like that, but I also don't want to move too much. They both are so close to us at the moment that any sort of movement might cause a bit of a fluster amongst them, and I don't want her to feel any more stressed than she probably already is. The interesting part about all of this is I'm watching her temporal glands, and the entire time we've been with her, her temporal glands are not leaking, which means that she's not emotionally stressed. So that tells me that she maybe knows what's going on with her, and she's been through this before, and that she's not actually showing a visible sort of stress sign, which is really interesting. What's wrong, my girl? Are you okay? I can honestly say this is one of the most special moments that I have ever been in. To sit with a female that is this close. Female elephants generally are not this relaxed around you and allow you to get this close. So for her to sit as close as she is right now, and for her to be in this sort of more compromised state and to be able to spend time right next to her, it is a feeling that I can't really describe to you. And I don't know about any of you, but maybe this is a good time for some of you to have a one-word tweet as to what you would feel if you were in this situation and you had this beautiful female right next to you and sort of didn't know what was going on. I think my one word would be just uncertainty. While this is the most amazing thing I've experienced, it's just I'm so uncertain as to what's going on. I don't know what her issue is. But I am so intrigued by this whole process, as well as kind of a bit worried, really, to be honest with you. And so a lot of you are wondering if she's asking us for help. Well, no, she's not asking us for help. She's just using us as a barrier. You see, every time the bull moves, she moves with him. So she's coming around, and we almost like this little barrier between her and the male itself. So she's using us much like she would use a tree in this essence. So she's not asking us for help. Earlier when we were parked with her, she didn't come close to us at all. So I'm trying not to move too much. So if I'm sitting at an awkward angle and not looking the right way, I do apologize. She's just so close that if I shift in my seat, I don't want to give her a fright. But I don't think she's asking us for help. She's not putting her trunk out towards us in any way. She's not in any way being sort of showing any visual cues other than that she's just watching the male. So where the male moves, she moves the opposite of that. My girl, what's going on? You are a very special elephant, you know that. Sure, this is one of the most amazing experiences I've ever been a part of. Wow. Are you okay? This is incredible. Sometimes just to sit quietly next to them is probably more value right now than me going and talking. So I'm going to keep quiet for a little bit and just listen to the herd. I'm hoping they're going to start talking to one another because the herd is approaching slowly. She's definitely not emotionally charged because, like I say, she wouldn't be right near us like this. She also would be leaking heavily from that temporal gland, which she's not. So I have no idea what's going on with her. Look how she's curled her trunk up. Oh, she's just dropped it now, but she has curled it up next to her. See, now the male's coming around again. So you see now she moves to the other side of us again. Look at her sun sort of dust bathing. And this amount of dust bathing is also uncommon for an elephant. She's been doing it all afternoon. So I don't know quite what the situation is. Now the male's coming around again. You just leave her alone. Stop it now. It almost looks like a female that's in must in a way. You can see dribbling again. What's going on? Are you worried about this? Again. Now go to your herd. The rest of the females are there. They'll look after you. Come on. Off you go. Go to your herd. Okay. You two just behave yourselves now. But that is about as close as it will ever get to a female elephant. And Okay, you can't sit here. Don't sit here, Michael. I'm just trying to let her have sort of her space and not move around too much. It's the male that's causing her distress at this stage because he's just following her all over the place. But they really are, like I say, right around us at the moment. You stay there. Behave yourself. Stop being naughty. Now, the reason why I'm not worried about him giving us too much trouble is because he's a young male. So if I shout at him and give him a bit of a talking to, he will go away because he's still concerned about us. You can see every now and then he gets sort of a bit flustered by the fact that I'm here. And so I'm not worried about him. I'm worried about her feeling that she's being too stressed out by all of this, but she's definitely using us like she would use a tree. It's the exact same process. Yes, go that way. There we go. That's it. Well done. Clever girl. There we go. There's the rest of your herd. Go and spend time with them. They'll look after you. There we go. Now the bull's on his way towards her, but the rest of the herd is there, and I'm hoping the other females don't tolerate this bull's nonsense and they push him away a little bit. Wow, what an amazing experience that was. I honestly can't tell you how incredible that was. That is probably one of the most special sightings I've ever had in my life. I've never, ever, ever experienced anything like that. That was unbelievable. But we're going to try and just see what plays out here, and I'm going to try and see if we can follow them a little bit. We'll put the infrared lights on so we don't disturb them, and while we do that, it's time for Brent to say his goodbyes. So let's go across all the way to the Mara for Brent to say goodbye.
Well, we're going to just say a quick goodbye with an approaching storm and a rainbow and a shepherd's tree out here in the Masai Mara. Look at those incredible clouds. And I know you are busy witnessing a really fascinating scene with Tristan at the moment, and I do hope Fang is doing better. But we just could not resist to show you this incredible, incredible scenery before we dashed up the hill. So one last look. There we go. Shepherd's tree, rainbow, and the Masai Mara. So from Dangerous Dave and myself, we will hopefully see you bright and early tomorrow morning for the sunrise safari. So last look and toodles, and back to Tristan.
I'm not Tristan, but I don't mind being mistaken for Tristan. Fergus and I were just admiring the beautiful, beautiful views. And we're going back towards those lions. Hopefully, they decide to make an appearance, but we'll stop for a second and take in the atmosphere of the open area of Cheetah Plains. Those vultures have gone off the tree. Okay, we're not taking in the atmosphere anymore. If the vultures have gone off the tree, would that mean that the lions have come away from the carcass? They appear to be moving in. Let's go and find out. Let's go see where those hyenas have gone. Because if they're gone as well, they went completely flat in very long grass, and they're not nearly as relaxed as the Djuma hyenas. No, you're still there. And there's still a vulture in the tree. So maybe not. Hello. I'm going to give them a little bit of extra space. So the lions are behind in that sort of green growth over there. Oh, sorry. Fergus, I wasn't watching what you were pointing at. I'm very sorry. The lions are somewhere over there. Far that side. I can't see them. I don't think there's any way that we're going to get a view of them, unfortunately. For our new viewers, that is an area that we cannot drive on. So we are stuck where we are for now. But perhaps as the sun starts to go down... Oh, is that a lion? No, that's just leaves. Isn't it? It's just leaves. I got hopeful there for a second. I'm hoping the lions might roar. But it doesn't seem... They're probably full of buffalo. Okay, there's one vulture. Where's that second hyena gone? Did she trot off? Looks like she might have. The other one's over there. Not looking as though it's going to go anywhere in any great hurry. And just while we're looking at a very flat hyena, or at least the back of a very flat hyena, I'm sure Tristan's touched on this, but I'm pretty sure I've seen that behavior before with elephants and with buffalo. When a female goes into labor, or if Tristan's correct and she is miscarrying, the hormones are confusing the males. They confuse it for an estrus hormone. And they think that the female's ready to mate when she's giving birth. And that's often why herd animals move off on their own to give birth. Oh, big yawn from the hyena. It's something completely different for them, of course. They have their own struggles. Since of all of the animals out here, the spotted hyena probably has the most unusual reproductive tract. And back to sleep. I think that's what it is. We see it with the impala as well. When the females are pregnant, the impala rams go into a false rut. Beautiful. But it is getting dark, which means I'm sure that Bushwalk is well on their way to making it back to the safety of camp.
We are making our way back to the safety of camp, everybody, but there's a real kind of, there's a strange atmosphere around, given the sighting you've just had. It's down here. That Fang's herd is in that area there. The Bushbrae site is just down there. So Tristan is waiting down there. And I've got to tell you, it's taken us about 20 minutes to get around the herd. They kept coming slowly through the bush here and moving down towards her. And there's an eerie atmosphere around the place because perhaps they are feeling stressed out, sad, melancholy, worried, who knows. Maybe it's entirely human psychology because I've been listening to what's been happening to Fang. Maybe it's just my own feelings that I'm now projecting onto the general atmosphere around me. But there does seem to be a slight eeriness about the atmosphere. Right, well, there is the sliver of the moon. And the sliver of the moon indicates the dark phase of the moon in May is nearly over, which means that the impala mating is all but done. And before it gets too dark, I'm going to hand you back to Tristan. I think he's still with the elephants, but let's go and find out what those elephants are going to do in the darkness.
We are still with the elephants because the saga is still playing out. She's still right near us. And the more I watch her, the more I don't think she's sick. The more I think it's something to do with birthing or miscarriage or one of those two. Maybe she's just had maybe she has a very small calf inside there that we just haven't seen that she's that heavily pregnant. I don't know. But there's definitely... It looks like that. When she pushes her back legs out and it looks like she's prepping to give birth. The elephant that I've seen give birth, she stood in the exact same way as that this elephant was standing, and sort of the behavior is not quite the same, but it's very similar. So I would imagine if it's a miscarriage, there would be some sort of pain involved and some sort of confusion, and that's maybe leading to some of the behavior that we're seeing. But the more I watch her, the more it looks like a birthing thing more than an actual that she's sick or ill. Because you see, she stretches her legs, and they often do that when they birth so that the distance between where they give birth and the baby falling to the ground is so much less. So that could be sort of the signs that they do that. And she's not wobbly on her feet. She's not, like I say, secreting from the temporal glands. There's no mucus coming out of her mouth or out of her trunk. So the only thing I can think is that there's some sort of labor-induced issue going on. Now, I do apologize for the aerial, but she literally is standing so close to us that I can't move at all, and she's moving around in circles, and so we will see a sort of sign of her coming back around, and the poles will all be out of the way. She was standing right next to us, but then the naughty bull came down again. Now, are you going to feed? That's good news if you do start feeding. But this is... So, I know Lou is reminding me about the fact that we saw the placenta, and I've been thinking about it the whole time, but that wasn't this herd. So I saw that herd in the morning on bushwalk, and it wasn't Fang's herd, although I didn't see Fang, so it might have been her herd, and maybe it is her. Maybe she's going through this sort of process where she's having a miscarriage, and that's that placenta that we've been finding, and over the last 2 days this is what's been going on. It could very well be this whole saga is playing out from already 3 days ago. It is the most interesting thing that I've ever seen when it comes to elephants, and it just goes to show you how little we actually understand about them. So you can see she's just kind of going behind the vehicle, and like I say, she's right behind us, and I don't want to stress her in any way, and I don't want to make her feel like she has to move. It's better that she stays where she needs to be, and we kind of leave her where she is. You can see the rest of the herd is right here in front of me at the moment, so that's fine. The rest of the herd is here, and they are around. Now, our naughty bull is back again. You stay where you are. Why are you coming back again? Enough now. Stop it. Now, she's coming back to this side. My girl, what's going on? So she's right next to the car again because the bull is just coming towards her. What's going on, girl? Are you okay, my girl? I think the bull is more just curious than anything else. He's a young male, and he probably doesn't quite know what's going on himself. And so he's probably just sniffing because there's all kinds of smells going on here. Oh, let me just, get out of the way there, Jandre, so you can see what I was talking about. You see how she keeps squatting a little bit? And he's smelling around her backside as well. What's going on between the two of you? And back to the game that we were playing earlier, where they go round and round us again. Although it seems like a young male's now going to get involved too. I honestly have no idea what is going on with this elephant and what the rest of the herd is responding to, but there's definitely a whole bunch of communication happening here that we have no idea about, and we are just being absolutely privileged to be a part of this and to actually witness this. This is, without a doubt, this will always be my most memorable elephant sighting. So Vern, you're wondering if a herd would sense if something was wrong. Most definitely. I've seen it with elephants before, when as soon as something is wrong, the herd most definitely senses there's an issue, and they all come running to the aid, particularly in a case where you've got the matriarch like this that is in some sort of distress. So they would then feel like if there was a problem that they should come and defend her. Now you also stop it now. What is wrong with the young bulls this afternoon? You can see I've got another one here that's starting. Yes, go. You're being naughty now. So the rest of the herd would definitely have that sense of there's a problem, and they would come and try and help out. You can see the herd itself is actually quite relaxed. They're not moving around too much. They're all sitting, feeding. And so that's why I think it's something to do with a birthing situation, because they would have all seen this before. If a female is going to give birth, they've all been through it. There's all babies inside here, and they know the discomfort and the stress that the female will go through during that process. And so that's maybe why the rest of the herd is not responding in any way whatsoever. They're all just feeding. Sorry, there's a bit of dust from all of the elephants throwing dust around. And so the rest of them are just feeding and taking it very easy. Now they're walking because Fang has gone all the way around, and she's actually going to pop out somewhere in front of us here, and they're all moving towards where she's going. But the bigger bull is what's upsetting the apple cart, so to speak. He's the one that's causing this movement of the herd. Whenever he comes round, all the young males move, all the females take a bit of a turn. So it seems like he is the sort of cause of a lot of the sort of frustration at this stage with some of the others out here. But she herself is not stressed with us as well. She's not showing any sign that she's in any way upset with us being close by to her, or us being anywhere in the vicinity of the herd. The rest of the herd is not being aggressive to us. We have not seen ears flayed. We have not seen any signs of her sort of being stressed out with us as a sort of entity. So it really is just the most incredible behavior and something I really am not sure about. Now, Fang is quite far away, so if you do hear a bit of scratching and branches breaking, that's okay. I'm not going to be stressing her out too much. She's quite a long way away from where we are already. She's going back towards quarantine clearings now. The other thing about an elephant giving birth is I don't know that much about it, and not many people do, because it's not something you're going to be able to see every single day. And from what I've read about it and what I've seen in a lot of the videos I've watched and just kind of looking to research this kind of thing, that most elephants will spend time giving birth on roads and sandy areas and open areas. And we've seen her today. Every time she sits or squats, it's on a sandy road section or in the middle of the quarantine clearings. That's where she keeps kind of going to. So it's interesting behavior in that regard. And I honestly have no idea how else to explain this. I don't know what else it could be. I don't think she's ill. I don't think we need to be concerned that she's going to be sort of die from this, but it's definitely something is not 100% right, and it's not her normal behavior, and that's all I can really explain for sure. Now she's just here in front. Now here we go. So this is so beautiful because we've actually got a crescent moon above her at the moment, which is very pretty. Now I'm going to just try and see if we can't get there. We go. So she's just off to my side. So there's the crescent moon. And you can just make out Fang. Now, unfortunately, it's going to be a bit bright if we try and expose for her because it'll burn out the sky. But there we go, the crescent moon and the infrared light together. And there she is. As you see, she's starting to do that squat again a little bit. I would love to know. I would love to be able to talk to her now and know what's going on and know if we should be very concerned or if that everything is going to be okay. It's really just such a difficult thing to be a part of. Like I said, we shouldn't get emotionally invested because they are wild animals and we don't look after them in any way. But you do. We spend so much time with them, and in a way we do have a responsibility to look after them and to make sure that they're okay. As numbers of all of these species start declining in the world, it almost is our responsibility to make sure that these animals are in some way not distressed and are doing okay. So Mia, you're saying you wonder if they're getting urinary tract infections. Sorry, getting a bit tongue-tied there. I suppose it's possible, Mia. I don't know. Like I say, I'm not a vet, and so I don't really know a lot of the sort of diseases that elephants can suffer from. I just know that they are quite resilient animals, and in most of the time that I've spent with them, the only things that they really kind of can be susceptible towards is pretty much anthrax is a big one, and other than that, not very much at all. They seem to be sort of resilient to most of the others. Interestingly enough, there was an elephant that was found with TB recently in the Kruger National Park section, and the most interesting point about that is not uncommon for an elephant to show positive for TB, but the fact that the elephant was TB positive with human strain TB, which means it's come into contact with TB from a human somewhere. Now, I know this is a whole sort of situation, but that image there almost reflects the mood of the situation. Eerie dust around her with that glowing eye in these wooded thickets. There's just something about that picture that is kind of very, very fitting for the mood of what is going on. Now, you see, look how she's raising her head, and that is because her bull is approaching her again. So you can see the bull is providing her an irritation more than anything else. She doesn't do that with us at all, it's just with this male when he comes along. But it would be interesting to know. I suppose that they should every now and then suffer from urinary tract infections, but at the end of the day, elephants are so resilient that they tend to be able to get over things like that. This to me is more something to do with a reproductive situation, or like I say, a miscarriage or a birth that's not quite happening. I would say miscarriage because she's definitely not round enough to have a fully developed calf inside there, so miscarriage would be my guess. And like we say, we have found bits of placenta around, and Rexon and I were actually, funny enough, talking about it this morning, and we were saying that it could be an indication of a female that is having a problem with her birth, and this behavior that we're seeing right now is very indicative of something like that. So I reckon that is what is happening at the moment. It's something to do with the miscarriage. I just want to turn around. I'm not going to go too close to her while the bull's after her, but let's just turn. Right, so while we kind of just see how this all plays out for a little bit longer, let's go across to Jamie, who's driving into the sunset, and hopefully is going to have some good news for us at some stage.
I hope so too, Tristan. I hope at some point I will have good news. At the moment, I don't. The lions did not make an appearance. There was absolutely no view of them. So we've decided to start heading back towards Djuma, since it is quite a long journey. And I have heard a report that there was a leopard around Gowrie Main, which is the southern boundary, and the road that we take, whoopsie, on our way home. The reason I say whoopsie and just turned off my lights was because there was a nightjar in the road. I wanted to make sure it didn't feel dazzled by our progress along this road or by the bright lights. It's the only time I've ever hit an animal was a nightjar on a dirt road. Not driving around a reserve like this, because we never ever go fast enough that we would do that. But driving between reserves late at night, they're difficult to see sometimes. I felt awful. You can't slam on the brakes when you're going 60 kilometers or 80 kilometers on a dirt road. Here it is. Hello. And of course, nightjars love to gather on the roads because there's all sorts of possibilities of insects fluttering about in the open space, so they can see them quite clearly. And at the same time, the road's quite warm as well. Our nightjar has the most massive gape. It's got this tiny looking little beak and an enormous mouth when it opens it wide, which they use as they soar through the air, and then you use it to swoop up and to catch insects. A massive gape for a bird that size. And you can actually, and I've seen it done in the past, I don't believe in it at all. You can actually, if you keep a spotlight on a bird like this, you can actually pick it up. I don't believe in that. I don't think that's ethical at all. But I have seen it done before. That's how dazzled they get by the spotlight. There's absolutely no reason to go and disturb a creature like that. But it does mean we have to be extra specially alert as we drive along. Okay. Thank you, Nightjar. Switch off our lights and travel in the dark for a little bit on our way home. Of course, the problem is they then fly off and land back in the road straight away, which this one has not done. A clever nightjar. I want to race back home and watch the footage of Fang. I'm desperate to see how it plays out, but I'm really curious to see exactly what's been going on. It sounds like the most amazing sighting. Okay. And Meg's just let me know that Tristan's made the call to leave the elephants for now. They're obviously moving off into dense vegetation, and the last thing he wants to do with an elephant that is a bit under the weather is frighten her in any way by following her off-road at night. No sign of quarantine, unfortunately. I've checked. It's very difficult when you don't know exactly where the animal was. I was given a rough idea, but I haven't found any tracks of him coming out. I think he's probably in that drainage line, but perhaps he'll pop out for tomorrow. I haven't had much luck with leopards recently, have I? Shadow this morning, quarantine this afternoon. It's alright, luck will turn. And Megs, just so you know, we're coming up to the lodge now. Oh, hello. Loud voices in my ear. We're going to be coming up to the lodge very shortly. Should we stop and look at the sunset and the moon? we shall definitely stop and have a look at the moon and the sky. Oh, Sarah, welcome to our sunset safari. I hope you found it incredible. While we watch the moon popping out, you want to know what the differences in temperature are for the different seasons here. Relatively drastic. During the summer months, the temperatures are usually during the day around about 35, sometimes over, like with the last year during the drought, they were in the mid-40s every single day, which is well over 100 degrees Fahrenheit every day. And the temperature doesn't drop much below around about 25 if you're lucky during summer at night. If you're not lucky, it sticks around 30, and we all sleep under wet towels and blankets. And then during winter, the days are still warm. They're still around the mid-20s, sometimes even up to 30. And then in the mornings, a very chilly, in midwinter, it's below 10 degrees centigrade, which for us is positively Arctic. I know that for many people that seems ridiculous, but for us it is very chilly. Although I've had many guests who have scoffed at the idea that it could possibly be cold here and have gone out, despite my warnings, unprepared on a morning drive. The wind chill factor is not to be scoffed at. And you've had to do a rapid return back to fetch a blanket. Okay, we're just going to zip through this Gremlin Hollow quickly. It sounds as though Tristan's had a very good idea, and he's going towards the hyena den.
Well, we've left Fang because she went into a thicket, and like I was saying earlier, I really didn't want to follow her through thick vegetation and cause any disturbance other than what she's already going through, so I felt it was better for us just to leave her, let her do her thing and carry on. She keeps trying to go back to quarantine, so I wouldn't be surprised she spends a lot of time there, and that herd is very close in the morning, and I definitely first thing tomorrow morning want to try and see if I can't find them and just see how she's doing and see it, hopefully that she's okay. That is got to be one of the most incredible elephant experiences of my life, and honestly I have no words really to describe it. When I was just pulled away from the elephants now, I was saying to Jean-Ray that I actually at one point was getting speechless because I didn't really know what to say, and it was quite a moving sort of experience, I must be honest, and it was just something that I'll never ever forget, and that is one of the most special things to witness. And many of us will go many years without seeing anything like that behavior that we saw this afternoon, and being in sort of that proximity to an elephant herd is one of the most amazing things I've ever done. Jean-Ray was telling me at one point that his focus on her eye was at 1.5 meters, so that just gives you an idea of just how close she was to the side of the car at one point, and she was that close, and on the other side was the male at the same distance, so it was really just a mind-blowing experience and something that we can probably never replicate. Now we are at the den, and the den is inactive. There is no little cubs around. They all seem to be inside, so we're going to carry on, especially with the fact that there's no Ribbon. If Ribbon was here, we would sit for a little bit longer, but if Ribbon's not around, we don't want to attract any attention to this mound whatsoever. We don't want to have a situation where other predators potentially see our lights and come and investigate, so we're definitely just going to carry on and slowly start making our way back home. But I thought we'd just come and have a quick look after all of that emotion, just to try and see if we can't have a bit more of excitement at the den itself. And alas, I think the cubs have decided it's still time to be inside, and with Mom not around, you never know, maybe they've already come out and have left with Mom and are exploring a little bit. You sometimes don't know. And I think Ribbon's cubs are a little bit too small for that at this stage, but you sometimes see them kind of snooping about. They might have heard the vehicle approaching and just gone back into the mound itself. And like I say, at dark, don't really want to spend too much time there and cause too much of a disturbance. During the day it's a little bit different, but at night don't want to do so. But wow, sure, what an afternoon. It was a sort of quietish start to the afternoon, and then that elephant herd, I'm so glad we actually went and decided to go to the elephant herd, because I was actually on my way to Arathusa to go and see what was going on there, and then we heard about the elephants at the dam cam, and like I say, I'm quite glad we went there. That was just amazing in every single way. Sure. I actually, like I say, I'm at a bit of a loss for words as to how to sort of describe that emotion and experience that we just went through. And I know it's not the most thrilling and exciting, and there is a concern there. It's just, yeah. So Susie, you say mind-blowing, and well, that's exactly what it was, Susie. It was mind-blowing, and there's no words that I think will describe that situation. If you had to tell somebody what you witnessed today and what we witnessed, it was just, I don't think there is a way to actually describe that. Now, there is something that is very cool, is the colors that are in the sky. Now, I know Jamie's shown you some of those colors, but that crescent moon is just amongst this marula with those beautiful sort of coloration. I'll put a bit of light onto the marulas just to light them up as well. Isn't that a seriously good way to end a day? What a beautiful scene. And there's the crescent moon just dipping through the boughs of that marula on its way down to the horizon. Very, very cool. Sure. So, Janning, you wonder if we ever go for drives after the sunset safari? Well, sometimes yes, because we have a number of crew members that are here, that are in the FC, like Megan, who's in FC today, and varying other staff members that don't get to go out and be privileged enough as what myself and Jandre are, to be out here every day and to experience what we experience every day. So for us, we end up in a situation where we become a little bit blasé about how amazing it is to be out here. And so sometimes for us it's important to get the rest of the crew out, get them to go and see some of the things. So if we know that there is something around, like let's say the Djuma Pride was around, then sometimes we will take them out and go and show them and let them experience what's going on, because it's vitally important that everybody that is part of the safariLIVE team feels that they're part of the team and gets to experience the wonders of what we live every single day. So very, very important, and we do try and do it as much as we can. It obviously gets a bit hectic at times, and we sort of days go by before we actually do, but we try our very, very best to get it right and to get the crew out as much as possible. Right, lights back on. There we go. Spotlight, where are you? There we go. Right, so we're going to carry on and just see now if there is anything else that we can potentially find. You never know what could pop out at this hour. We know our last minute leopard Tingana likes to do it, so maybe we'll get lucky with him. While we do that, let's go across to Jamie, who's managed to bat off the gremlins and has found some decent signal.
I fought off the gremlins. It was a vicious, savage and brief fight where all I had to do was drive through a dip and out again. So all is well here, and as Tristan said, this is the most exciting time to drive around because you just never know what might pop out. I have promised Fergus a honey badger at some point. Well, I didn't promise, exactly. He requested a honey badger. There's a slight difference. You think I should respect your authority? Okay. Alright, Ferg. I'll see what I can do, seeing as I've seen one honey badger in about a year. That was the other day, and that was very exciting. And it is winter, so we do see more. Just check up the road behind me. I once made a very sad mistake. I once did this, turned onto a road, and I didn't check the road behind me. There was somebody else traveling shortly 5 minutes behind me, and they had a leopard walk. So always check the junctions if you're turning. I was very embarrassed and quite heartbroken. What have we got here? Bah! Just turn my... Oh, whoops. I was busy concentrating on turning my side lights off because of the daycare that was next to the road. But it has run away, and my birds have flown away. It was a pair of bronze-winged coursers, by the way. Woof! Getting chilly. Susie, at least Susie included the hee-hee at the end of that. Susie would like a caracal, a honey badger, or a civet. We'll see what we can do. You never know. Every time I go onto Cheetah Plains now, and every time I pass the spot where Taylor saw the caracal, I find myself double checking just in case it's still there. Even though I know the likelihood is so slim. But indeed, let us see if we can find a civet, caracal, or a honey badger. If you're going to spot something like a chameleon, never mind. Right, let's find Fergus a good place here. Here we go. They're still out. It's so late into the season. That is a chameleon, right? I'm not imagining things. It's a chameleon. Thank goodness for that. It would have been very embarrassing if it was just an oddly shaped leaf. There we go. I was about to say the trick for spotting smaller things is to move your spotlight quite fast. The trick for spotting chameleons is to not overthink it. If you look for chameleons, you're going to see them in every single tree. But if you let your brain just pick up on something odd, you'll spot one. Mia, you wanted to see a chameleon. There you go. With pleasure. You asked, and we have provided. Doesn't often work like that. We'll definitely enjoy this particular moment. I've noticed that the vast majority of my chameleon sightings at the moment have been on either large fruited bush willows or variable bush willows, which is just I don't know if we've really got enough to actually had enough chameleon sightings to draw a conclusion. But I wonder why that might be. I wonder if they don't choose these trees to sleep in. Because I think, now thinking back on it, I think every single one of my chameleon sightings in this work cycle has been on one of those two trees. And they do have quite large leaves. Perhaps it works better for camouflaging at night. Because I've gone back several times on bushwalk to where I've had a chameleon the night before, and I've never managed to find it again. I'm surprised, though, to see one this late into the season. It's cold. I would have expected them to be estivating, but maybe the late rains has kept them out a bit longer, because the late rains would probably have kept the insects around a bit more, and the moths. And that, of course, is the chameleon's primary diet. With a sticky, elastic tongue that shoots out and grabs whatever they happen to set their eyes upon. Definitely far more chameleon sightings than last year. I wonder which chameleons we're going to see in the Mara. I wonder how many chameleons we're going to see in the Mara. Seems to be a relative shortage of trees there. The open plains. But they must be there. Cool. That was a very nice surprise and a nice way to end off our portion of the Sunset Safari. It's time for Ferg and myself to head on home, so we'll send you across to Tristan so he can wrap up the Sunset Safari.
Well, indeed, Jamie, and we've found ourselves back on quarantine and just reflecting upon a wonderful afternoon and wonderful day, really, in the sort of Djuma Game Reserve. It's been absolutely fantastic, and it's been a real sort of treat. And you can see the moon itself is almost a perfect thing to reflect upon. So just to sit and watch this moon slowly dropping is really quite something. And you can actually see the halo of the moon on the outer edge there, which is really cool. It's not something you always see, and it amazes me the technology that we have these days, that you can get that picture in the pitch sort of black. You can see the sort of moon rim, and you can actually make out the sort of dark side of the moon to some degree. Now I can actually hear Fang's herd, and the elephants are not too far from quarantine here. There we go. It sounds like they're going down towards the dam cam, and you can see we're just sitting in absolute darkness at the moment and just enjoying the last little bit and sounds of the evening. And she's started to trumpet, and there's quite a bit of talking going on. So Dam Cam will be a really good place to watch tonight for those of you that are going to be on Dam Cam. I would imagine that there will be quite a bit to watch there, and maybe you guys can monitor Fang and see how she goes, and so for tomorrow morning we will be able to follow up on her. Now, also talking about tomorrow, please remember everyone that we are doing a fireside chat to celebrate Karula, so that will be at 5:45 Central Africa time, so you can join us, and myself, Jamie and James will go through some of the highlights we've had, as well as other highlights that we've had with Karula over the years. It's been an absolute treat to follow her. Now, it's that time of the day, unfortunately, that we are going to start to say our goodbyes. It's been an absolute incredible journey to have you with us. I hope you've really enjoyed that elephant sighting as much as Jandre and I have. It was probably one of the most special experiences of my life, so I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did, and we look forward to seeing you all tomorrow morning on our sunrise safari. So from Jamie and myself, goodbye everybody, we'll see you in the morning.